Hello folks, this is Rick Robinson. I'm the host of America Off the Rails. I'd like to take just a moment to wish you and yours a very happy holiday season.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely.
Hi, this is Rod of the Rod Eccles Show. Yours truly, L. Rod. Wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. See you in 2016.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, wherever you are. Maybe you're on another planet, maybe you're on the other side. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I am Michael Vera. And tonight, we've got a pretty good show planned here. We've got a return guest again. Something I don't do a whole lot of. I mean, I've had thousands of guests, and there's only a select bunch that actually return. John's one of them. So John Dinardo joins me tonight. He says that he has new data on this Planet X, and says that he's going to share that with us tonight. So we'll see where that goes. And folks, I just want to be very clear here. I always believed there was something to this Planet X scenario. I've always thought, because I've seen newspaper articles and different things through the years, including back in '83 in my own high school. I've seen it. So I've never doubted that they were looking for something, that there's something they could be hiding. All right. Now, exactly where it is, what it's supposed to do, and who's on it or who's off it, I don't know any of that for fact, and so I bring guys on like John Dinardo. I listen to what they have to tell me, and ultimately, I need proof. I need to see with my own eyes. I need to see. Now, I've been telling everybody this for days, but I've been working on a lot of stuff here. So, I still have not got those pictures in the forum that I promised that I would get in there. But I will get on it right after the show tonight. I've got a note right here on my desk, so I won't forget. But I've actually been trying to clear up some of my own pictures. I've got a past guest Mr. Morningstar, who is helping me, blowing them up, and we're trying to figure out what it is Autumn and I seen in the sky a couple weeks back. So working on that too. So a lot going on. John, I want to keep saying doctor. I have so many doctors on the show. John Dinardo joining me tonight. And John Dinardo, he's not selling anything. He's just sharing the information. He really believes in this, and that's why he does it, because his heart's in it, not because of a wallet or anything like that. All right. So, by the way, this broadcast is coming at you live out of the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, on the east coast of the United States. And it's going to be a pretty good one, I think. It usually is when John's with us. Pretty good show. All right, so I've got some news I want to get into. And the website, latenightinthe go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. That's the most important part. Lindsey Graham suspends presidential campaign. Now, the funny thing is that I had no idea he even had one. Lindsey Graham, he's the guy who got really angry and says, if you want to make America great again, and tell Trump to go to hell. He's that guy. Yeah, he's a South Carolina guy. He's angry because he couldn't even get South Carolinians behind him. Anyways, Obama's playing the race card on Trump. Barack Obama said in a radio interview airing on Monday that Donald Trump, a leading contender for the presidential nomination on the Republican side, is exploiting the resentment and anxieties of working class men to boost his campaign. Well, Obama could play the race card all he wants. I mean, Obama has been the race president. I mean, he's been the guy who has caused more problems between races, between people, and between police and the people. I mean, he's done all that, his administration. They've been responsible for it all. That includes Hillary Clinton. It includes her, old pie-face Hillary. Just incredible. But anyways, he's one to call out that the race card on Trump. The man's saying what needs to be said. People don't like it because they've been buttered up. They've been buttered up for years. Soft media, so on and so forth. Of course, the mainstream media, they do nothing but lie to you. And, well, then there's independence. Intelligence genes have been discovered by scientists. Now, this is kind of scary. Imperial College in London has found that 2 networks of genes determine whether people are intelligent or not so bright. Genes which make people intelligent have been discovered, and scientists believe they could manipulate to boost brain power. That means they can also manipulate to dumb down. Now, we've seen this for a long time. We've seen the dumbing down. It's been horrendous. You know, it really has. But what I really am seeing more people awakening. I mean, I think they're closet awakeners. It's like you're seeing them, but they're not staying out. You know, it's like they're still kind of afraid, but they're there. I mean, they're starting to come out of the woodwork a little more. It's good to see. It really is good to see. No need to be afraid. LNM's got a light on for you. We'll all do this together. But yeah, scientists now figure that they can mess with the genes and, well, you know, there's a TV show. I don't watch it, but I seen previews for it at one point where I guess these guys will take pills and for so many hours or whatever while they've taken this pill, they get all this intelligence, like they can figure out anything. Well, TV, not too far away from the truth now, is it? So watch out. You know, and of course, they're not going to come to your house and say, "Hey, we want to mess with your genes and dumb you down." No, they've got technology. They've got technology that does that. They definitely do. All right. Climate change shock. Burning fossil fuels cools planet, says NASA. That's what NASA's saying. They're saying climate change shock, burning fossil fuels actually cools the planet. Who would figure? First it's bad, then it's good. I mean, it warms, it cools. These people are just throwing anything out there that they can. The fact of the matter is, the climate change that we have right now is man-made. Absolutely, it's man-made. Geoengineering, folks. That's the man-made climate change that we're going through right now. It's because of geoengineering. It's because of greedy men and women in suits and ties and skirts who are behind the scenes, and they'll do anything to gain a buck. Anything at all to gain a buck. They'll lie to you. They'll steal from you. They'll turn your beautiful plant life into Monsanto plastics. So that's what's happening. But they say now that burning fossil fuels and cutting down trees causes global cooling, at least for a period of time. And they're in shock. See, none of this shocks me. I don't know, they use the word shock. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that they don't know what end is up and what end's down. Or they do, and they just don't want to tell us. Pyramid discovered on the moon. Of course, a question mark there. I've seen in the past, I've seen pictures that would indicate that there's that type of structure on the moon, along with tubes and all kinds of stuff I've seen. And, you know, you can never absolutely confirm some of this stuff like this. I mean, it's not my picture. And I don't, you know, for me, when somebody hands over a photo to me, it's best if it comes from somebody I truly trust. And there's not a whole lot of people out there like that, but people that I truly trust. Like if Ira came to me tomorrow and says, Mike, here's this picture, I took it. I mean, I wouldn't question him outside of, you know, when, where, and are you sure this and are you sure that? I mean, but if he told me that he took that, I could trust him. But when you get, you know, thousands of people who I've never met or never talked to, and they send stuff to me, and they say, I ask them, well, do you want to come on the show and talk about? Well, it's not actually my picture. I got it from this one. That one got it from someone else. And before you know it, it's really hard to actually confirm some of this stuff. But has a pyramid been discovered on the moon, they ask. A popular UFO website, UFO Sightings Daily, keeps trying to prove the existence of aliens and UFOs flying around over Earth and outer space. Well, they don't have to prove it to me because I know it's true. I've seen these crafts myself. I absolutely have. But anyways, the website now claims that they have spotted a black pyramid on our very own moon. Another interesting fact. Now, they say pyramid. It could be, I mean, how you know it's not one of those big old black UFOs sitting around up there? It could be one of those. But I seen the picture, and it's all linked up on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. So you're welcome to go check it out for yourself. I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't know. Now, listen, I have absolutely no doubt there's stuff on the moon. Pyramids, probably structures of certain kinds. I'd almost bet my soul on it. Okay? But I don't think that everybody who says they have pictures of stuff on the moon is telling us the truth. So, you know, you take it with a grain of salt and just know that there is some truth to it. Asteroid set to pass us by on Christmas Eve. Yep, another one. It seems like every holiday there's an asteroid coming by. Following the Halloween close encounter, another seasonal asteroid will soon be paying us a visit, but it's going to be so far away. It's going to be 6.7 million miles away. And they're talking about this thing's going to be, you know, come around a few different times throughout the years, and eventually it's going to get really close. But this time it'll be 6.7 million miles away. So, no doomsday on Christmas, folks. Sorry, at least not that way, anyhow. Now, last but not least, before I get into my break, I want to get into something else that somebody had sent me a message, an email message, and rather than reply by email, because I didn't have a whole lot of time, I figured I'd share it with you all and give my opinion, because I think that's what she's asking for here. She said that this person said that they had just watched an interview of Stephen Bassett's and that he was talking about imminent disclosure. Says that she couldn't help but think it sounds like he's so sure that something has happened in the next couple of months, that they are getting ready to play the final card. Considering all that is going on in the Middle East and all that's been going on between Putin and Kerry, etc., it sounds to me, she says, like it's a very real possibility, especially as the U.S. seems to have been backed into a corner regarding their paid pet bulls, the ISIS. I agree with that. It may well be the next or only move that they can make to save face and get their one world government finally installed. Everything has been moving at supersonic speed just lately, and what with the financial world seeming to be about to implode, it makes sense to me. What do you think? What do I think about them playing the final card, the alien card, the invasion? That's a good question. Excuse me, folks. I'm loving my coffee tonight. I can't help it. That's, it's a tough one because for me, I mean, I'll probably be one of the first ones to get killed because should this happen, should we see mass UFOs in the sky, I will be one who will be going outside and I'll be trying to, I want to make contact. I need to know, is this some Hollywood stuff or is it real? There's only one way you're going to find out, right? And at that point, the internet would probably be useless to you. So, do I think? Yeah, I think they'll use that if they have to. I think right now, they're second from last right now. I think they're using the card now as, hey, there's worldwide terrorism. Oh no, yeah. Everybody, let's come together and have a one world government. And I think that's what they're playing right now. And I think if that don't work, I think then yes, the alien card would probably be next. But, folks, don't be fooled. I mean, they're really out there. So, I mean, you could, I've seen real ones, UFOs. So, I guess if the government does it, they're going to be, it's going to be a whole bunch of these things. At that point, you're going to have to question whether it's them or not. Don't think about it too long, though, because, I'm sure they have much more advanced laser technology than what our own government is experimenting with now, that they're ready to put on fighter jets. So they, directed energy weapons, if you will. Yeah, Judy Wood talked about that. Everybody said she was crazy. Well, some people did. And now they're coming out talking about they're almost there. So what do I think about it? I think, sure, of course they'll do it. Am I worried about it? No, I'm not concerned about any of this stuff. I mean, concerned, I don't want to sound like I don't, it's really hard to say. I mean, I don't stay up at night worrying about this stuff. I just don't. I mean, I take it day by day. Whatever happens, happens. It's all meant to be. If it's meant for us to win this thing, then some of you who are watching 350 channels every day are listening to useless media, well, you guys got to come together now. You got to get off of that stuff, and you've got to join the rest of us. I mean, I think we come together, we get some good organization. I think we could win this thing. I don't think it's lost yet, but, some people would disagree. I know Peter Kling thinks we're in the final year here. He thinks this is it. And actually going to have him on sometime in the next, a week or two. And we're going to be discussing that, as a matter of fact. So, me, I always hold out hope. If I don't have hope, then why be here? Why do this? Why do it if there's no hope? What good's the money going to do you? What good's any of that going to do you? Why do anything if you have no hope? I'm Michael Vera. This is Late Night in the Midlands. When we come back, I will have John Dinardo with me. So, and we'll open lines later for everybody. You got questions, you're welcome to call in, whatever's on your mind, but not yet. Let us get going here first. So, we'll take this break. We'll be right back again. This is Late Night in the Midlands.
La 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 la, la la. Oh, 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 la 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 la, la la. If every day is just a dream, then who would I wanna be? Today I think I'll be the queen, flying through a time machine. Oh, my, discover what's deep inside. Oh, my, loving everything you find. La 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 la, la la. Oh, 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 la 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 la.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. OxySilver works three ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with two P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
LNM fans and late-nighters around the world. Have you captured something on that photo or video of yours? Send in your photos and videos of ghosts, orbs, UFOs, Planet X, or just about anything content related by submitting them to the Late Night in the Midlands Facebook group or fan page, or you can submit them on Twitter using hashtag LNM Radio. And if you would rather stay anonymous, then email them to us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. We will share them at our new fan page on the LNM website and may even ask you to come on air a few minutes and tell us about your photo or video. Late Night in the Midlands. We're building a bridge to the truth and beyond.
Share our content and use the hashtag LNM Radio for your chance to win a free subscription. Those who use it at least 10 times a month will find themselves entered into a drawing every month to win a free 2-month subscription from Late Night in the Midlands. So spread our news, spread our website, and use hashtag LNM Radio.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
Is there proof of God's existence in our government's records? Author Jose Collazo brings his years of research into this stunning question to light with his new book. Discover how new and experimental technologies may change our world forever and uncover monumental proof and answers to mankind's greatest questions in God Does Exist, No More Nuclear Testing, and more.
You could find Jose Collazo's book, America's New Slavery, on Amazon.com. This show is for the mentally sane and for those who accept an alternate reality to the lie you have been told. If you're politically correct, politically brainwashed, or politically insane, then I recommend you turn the dial immediately and go back to the lies and distorted reality that makes you feel secure in your unsecure life. We cover everything, should not be mistaken for we go along to get along. We are not those other shows who guide you down a dark hall because seeing is not beneficial to their bottom line. No, we turn a light on so you can truly see what lies ahead. We are not alternative, but if we were, then we would be an alternative to the lies, not the news, because sometimes the alternative is no better. We are independent. We are LNM, and we are saying it like it is. LNM Radio, exposing the truth, one show at a time.
Become a late nighter without the late nights. And subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information.
Hey, late nighters. I have a secret I want to share with you. What if I told you there's a way to hear some of our show content free on YouTube? Well, it just so happens there's a guy who is honest and supports Late Night in the Midlands big time. And he owns a YouTube channel I highly recommend. Non-Human Entities. Yes, non-human entities. And if you do not have a pencil handy, no sweat. You can just click one of the many banners on our website. Non-human entities. That's non-human entities. Again, just look for them on YouTube or click the banner on LateNightInTheMidlands.com for non-human entities.
On the East Coast of the United States, from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Dara. To talk to Michael Dara, dial 803-392-4566 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
All right, folks, we are back, and I've seen plenty of photographs, supposed photographs of this thing. As a matter of fact, I was making people angry for a while. I know, go figure, me making people angry. But I was making people angry for a little while because everything that come along, I found flaws in it. And, folks, I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm not going to go along to get along. I can't do that. Don't get me wrong. I give my guests free rein to, give their whatever they've got, but I reserve the right to question things if they're not right. And, I know one researcher who I did that with, and that researcher, well, he told me to go F myself. And, I can understand if you're just out there for the money, that's how you handle things. But if you're out there and you're really trying to get the truth out, and somebody, points out a legitimate flaw in something you've presented as fact, I think it's only fair that you, take another look at it. Not get offensive and, wow, it's just incredible. But, that's Masters. That's just who he is, how he is. And so, I'll look at anything people got when it comes to Planet X and all that. There's just one person that has shown me that they're just in it for one thing. And so that guy, if his research comes about, I'm sorry, I have to disqualify it because I know who I'm dealing with. So, but John Dinardo, on the other hand, now here's a guy who's not selling anything. He doesn't have websites and books and all this stuff. He's just, a regular family man. He believes in the Lord, and, he believes that Planet X is upon us. And so I have him back on for updates because, it's just like people who have alien abductions or any of that other stuff. If they're really believing it and they're saying this is happening, who am I to say, not give him a chance to talk about it and show it, right? So that's what we'll do. And we'll do that tonight with John. So, folks, John Dinardo, let me tell you a little bit about him. Following his service as a U.S. Marine aircraft electronics technician, he earned the bachelor's degree in science education from Keene University, specializing in physics and biology. So, we're not talking about just some fly-by-night here. He's well educated. He received state certification to teach all of the sciences in high schools of New Jersey. His early career involved teaching 12th grade high school physics, 6 classes daily he did. He's got a hell of a bio here, folks. He worked with a ton of companies, including AT&T and Bell Laboratories and all these different companies. He has done extensive research in the field of Planet X. He is, out of the Planet X people who I've had on, there's a few of them that I think are really good, and he's right there with that top bunch. And so let's bring on John Dinardo. And folks, we'll take your calls later in the show if you've got a question or a comment.
Hello.
Good evening, John. This is Michael Vera with Late Night in the Midlands. How are you?
Fine. Hi, Michael. I'm glad to be with you and your audience.
Whoa, it's great to have you back, my friend. I was just telling everybody a little bit about you and telling them that you're amongst my top researchers when it comes to this topic. So I appreciate it.
Well, that's an honor. Thanks so much, Michael.
Absolutely. So, John, where would you like to start tonight?
The latest news we have is from the Atacama Large Meter Submillimeter Array Telescope in Chile. It's the largest telescope on planet Earth. It's a radio telescope capable of detecting not only visible light, but, as you know, light is just one particular frequency spectrum, portion of the frequency band of all electromagnetic energy. Radio waves are also the same identical type of electromagnetic energy as light. And gamma rays are also the same type of electromagnetic energy. The only difference is that they all vibrate or oscillate at different frequencies. That is the different number of cycles per second. So because this telescope is a radio telescope, it's able to detect not only visible light, but sub-visible light, such as infrared, which is what Planet X emits right now. And this is why it's so key. Not only is it capable of sighting distant objects, but it's also able to see non-light emitting objects. Well, the Atacama Large Meter Submillimeter Array, extending more than 3 miles high into the sky in Chile, has just reported that they have detected what is very possibly Planet X. And the diabolical ruling elite are quite upset. They don't know what to do. They've always known that somebody was going to blow the lid off of their secret. They're, in fact, the diabolical ruling elite. There have been reports from credible, reputable newspapers, such as the London Daily Mail, that the elite are going underground. And these reports have been coming out throughout this year of 2015. So we know things are happening. They're getting ready for a war. A war is always cooked up whenever there is something catastrophic about to happen, such as a planned financial collapse.
John, I'm going to leave you to keep. You just keep going ahead with this. I got to leave the mic for a few minutes. I kind of got a flood in the other room I need to take care of.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, please. I hope everything works out well
okay,
for you.
I'll be right back. All right.
All right.
But go right ahead.
Okay, so we see the signs all around us that something drastic is about to happen. And we should not be worried. If we have trust in God, we should now prepare calmly, and because I expect, and many observers who have been studying the situation of not only Planet X, but the world affairs and the cataclysms of the precipices that we appear to be at right now in terms of world politics, the world economy, world war, social upheaval, etc. So we should be preparing for dislocations in our civilizations, such as loss of electrical power. That possible loss of electrical power over major regions of the earth has been discussed and has been of great concern to many people. Ted Koppel, the famous news reporter. Of course, news reporters who are currently in the news cannot be relied upon because their speeches and thoughts are controlled. However, people like Ted Koppel, who have long since retired, they can speak out. And Ted Koppel has written a book warning that we can expect widespread and long protracted power outages. So we should get prepared for that now. Planet X has been sighted. I'm quite sure. I intend to try to go through, in the limited time we have, the vast array of evidence that we have, showing that indeed this huge brown dwarf star has been detected, not only now but in the past, and is naturally, understandably, being pulled in by our sun's great gravitational force field. Our sun is like a celestial fisherman. Our sun's mass is incredibly great. Our sun's mass is equivalent to nearly 1/3 of a million Earth masses. And as we know, according to our own experience every day with gravity, and according to Sir Isaac Newton's universal law of gravitation, the greater the mass of a body, the greater its gravitational pull. So this is why Planet X is coming in. It's not an accident. It doesn't happen to be accidentally coming in. It is a brown dwarf star, of which many are out there in deep space. And this particular brown dwarf star has gotten close enough to our solar system that it has impinged on Earth's, on our solar system's distant outlying borders of our solar system's gravitational force field. And as you know, when an object gets within a force field, whether it be a gravitational force field or a magnetic force field, that object is going to be pulled in and it will be accelerated, which is happening now. So this has been expected. I have studied this subject, and many others have studied this subject of Planet X for 15 years or more. I would say the first time I heard about it was in 2002, and I had a spiritual awakening. You know, it was an intuition spiritually, I believe from God, that this is true. This Planet X, even though I knew nothing about it, entering a large body, entering a solar system, which would cause gravitational molestations of Earth at distances of several million miles away as it passes by. I had realized intuitively that this was true, and without having studied it. But then the more I studied it, the more I realized from a scientific and logical basis of study, it is indeed true. And the more you study it, the more you realize, the more sounder your belief becomes. There are so many fields of evidence that show us, all pointing, converging, agreeing, overlapping, intersecting one another, indicating that this brown dwarf star is indeed coming into our solar system. There is the field of the Bible. Not only the Holy Bible, but other religious texts have prophesied a large object or great devastation coming into our solar system, wreaking havoc upon planet Earth. That's the religious aspect of the evidence. There's also the scientific aspect of it. Scientifically, this object, I can take you back to the prime evidence supporting this, the belief that this object exists and it's indeed being pulled in by our sun, and that is the launching by our U.S. government in conjunction with the government of the Netherlands and Great Britain in 1983, nearly a third of a century ago, where they were launching this infrared astronomical satellite. And I have the New York Times landmark report on the launching of that satellite. At that time, they were not muzzled. The astronomers and astrophysicists of that day were actually proud to declare to the world that they were launching this infrared, because infrared, this telescope was designed to detect infrared light, not visible light. And they were proud to herald the launching of it in the New York Times article. I have it right in front of me. And it's a very long article, but it's extremely informative. What they're saying in the article is that then in January 30th, 1983 to be exact, the infrared astronomical satellite was being launched, quote, to detect the long-sought planet X.
I'm
they
back.
Actually were free to use the term Planet X. Welcome back, Michael.
Yeah. I have one of those refrigerators that apparently is smart, I guess, and well, it has a water compartment where it'll give you water. Well, it was giving water all right. I thought I heard something, and I wasn't sure. I'm glad I caught it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Glad it worked out okay for you.
So we're good, because if I didn't catch it in time, it would have been coming downhill to the studio shortly.
Oh,
I heard so. It's all good now. I did
Great.
a super speedy cleanup, and here we are. So continue.
Okay. Well, anyway, so in this New York Times, what I'm going to do for credibility, I'm going to read some clips from it, but I don't want to take too much time because I know there's so many avenues or channels of fields of information that we can talk about that all converge to indicate that this brown dwarf star is indeed entering our solar system. So I'll just touch on this.
Okay.
This is Sunday, January 30th, 1983. I have the actual photocopy of the article, which I posted on the internet. It's widely available, so that people cannot, skeptics cannot say, well, that's just you made up the text of it, but where's the actual article? I have it photocopied with a photograph in the article of U.S. and Dutch technicians preparing the infrared astronomical satellite before its launch in January of 1983. United Press International from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. I'll just read a bit. The title is January 30th, 1983, Clues Get Warm in the Search for Planet X by John Noble Wilford of the New York Times. Quote, something out there beyond the farthest reaches of the known solar system seems to be tugging at Uranus and Neptune. Some gravitational force keeps perturbing the two giant planets, causing irregularities in their orbits. The force suggests a presence far away and unseen, a large object that may be the long-sought Planet X. So what they're saying is that there's a gravitational pull on the outer gas giants, Uranus and Neptune, and they knew, astronomers know, that only a large body could cause the irregularities or perturbations or pluckings out of their orbital paths of these large outer planets, Uranus and Neptune.
Mhm.
So they knew there must be a body out there. They couldn't see it. But incidentally, a year before that, back in the a couple of years before 1983, in the 1970s, I also have a New York Times article that shows that they also went out to look for it. This was their first venture, the U.S. government's first venture into space to try to detect this object. They've been very concerned about it for decades and very quiet about it, secretive.
And I'll point out as well, seeing someone brought it up in the chat, that yes, back in 1983, I was in my science class at John Marshall High School. Mr. Freeman was my teacher, so if anyone wants to go look it up or something. But we got magazines, little thin paperback type magazines that would come in every week, and he would hand them out to us, and we were to pick an article, something in there, and do an essay on it. I happened to, that week, see the Planet X stuff, and it talked about how a satellite, a Russian satellite, had gone off course and actually got a glimpse of this thing, that it was partially in our solar system. And that's what I read, and they talked about how it can have life on it and this and that, and it was like it was really big, but it was Earth-like. And I mean, I remember reading about this thing, and they called it Planet X, and then I didn't hear no more about it. And that's what it said in that magazine. It talked about it being, like this satellite went out of orbit and accidentally caught it.
And that was in 1983, that report.
Yes.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. That's about 1983, right after the New York Times article. That's when the NSA, the diabolical ruling elite's organ of deceit and control, called the National Security Agency, the spy agency, controls all the other agencies of the government, and they muzzled NASA. They muzzled the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and told them not to talk about it anymore. This was soon after this article was published that I'm reporting on now from the New York Times, and that's why you heard very little about it, although a few major news publications did put out reports which I have collected. I didn't collect them all because there were several others, but I did get one that was sort of sneaked by the censors in 1984, and that was from the third largest news magazine in the United States, U.S. News and World Report, where they stated, they restated the discovery of Planet X in this 1984 U.S. News and World Report article that I have. So there have been reports, and we could see, our common sense tells us that when a subject is stifled by the diabolical ruling elite, then we know that there's something happening, something serious behind that suppressed story. We know there's more to it. There's something there that they don't want us to do not want the public to know about. And of course, it's logical because the diabolical ruling elite, their main interest is not only wealth and power. It's also power goes along with controlling the people, controlling their thoughts, manipulating their thoughts so that they can continue to perpetrate their evil unimpeded, unopposed. And that requires lies upon lies. And one form of a lie is the omission of truth. You just omit the truth, vital truth.
Yeah.
So this is more evidence to show us that they've covered up the truth, and therefore there's a very serious subject that is being covered up. When you realize their motive behind the cover-up, it becomes obvious. When this object comes in, they all know this because they have the greatest scientists that money can buy in the U.S. government. And they know that when this object comes in, and their studies show that it will not hit the Earth. It will pass by Earth, maybe as close as several million miles away. Why? Because it's on its way to its gravitational rendezvous with our sun. It will not strike the sun. It has come in, incidentally, this brown dwarf star has come in at regular intervals throughout the past. And incidentally, that brings us to another field of evidence proving that this planet X exists, and that is the periodicity, the regularity of this, the intrusion of this object into our solar system. Every 36 and a half centuries, almost like clockwork, chronological clockwork, every 36 and a half centuries, and we can talk about the geological evidence showing that the great catastrophes were inflicted upon the entire planet Earth every 36 and a half centuries. But getting back to the other, now we're jumping back to the field of scientific astronomical evidence that this object, this brown dwarf star, exists and is indeed being pulled in to pass by Earth and cause great gravitational molestation of Earth's surfaces as it passes by Earth several million miles away on its gravitational rendezvous with our sun. And that is, I'm still working on this 1983 New York Times landmark report titled Clues Get Warm in the Search for Planet X, which talks about the launching of the infrared astronomical satellite, which was specifically commissioned to do just that, to find this object. And reverting back to an earlier history before 1983, I'm looking at another New York Times article, which I also photocopied from my archives in my county library. And this is New York Times, Saturday, June 19th, 1982, over a year before the 1983 New York Times article. And I'm just going to read a little bit of that. Spacecraft, title, Spacecraft May Detect Mystery Body in Space. From Sunnyvale, California, June 18th, United Press International. Quote, a pair of American spacecraft may help scientists detect what could be a 10th planet or a giant object billions of miles away, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration said Thursday. You see, NASA was free to speak about it way back in 1982. Continuing, scientists at the Space Agency's Ames Research Center said the two spacecraft, Pioneers 10 and 11, which are already farther into space than any other man-made objects, might add to knowledge of a mysterious object believed to be beyond the solar system's outermost known planets. The Space Agency said that persistent irregularities in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune suggest some kind of mystery object is really there, with its distance depending on what it is. Okay, so that's enough of that article because of the limited time that we have. But you see, they sent up the Pioneer space probe, and what they were doing with, according to this article here, I'll give you a further insight, is the space probe, Pioneer 10, was sent up in the calculated to go into the deep regions of our solar system as far out as you can imagine and never return on an endless journey. This Pioneer 10 was sent on a trajectory that would pass very close to where the scientists and astronomers have calculated this mysterious pulling object was located. And their rationale was quite understandable, logical, and that is, if this space probe, Pioneer 10, got close enough to this huge gravitationally pulling object, well then this object would pull the Pioneer space probe slightly off of its trajectory, and that would constitute evidence that indeed this object, this gravitational body, was out there. And that's what happened. Now, I'm telling you that's what happened, even though they did not report it. To my knowledge, they did not admit the results of the Pioneer 10 space probe mission. They, of course, they're not going to tell you, well, yeah, we were looking for... Well, they told you this was wonderful. This is wonderful that at that time, the NSA had not been crafty enough to muzzle NASA. And so NASA was telling us, yeah, we're looking for Planet X. That's what the purpose of this Pioneer 10 space probe is. But to my knowledge, later on, it took a long time for that space probe to get out there, because it's traveling in the solar system, very deep into the solar system.
And John, it's a little early, but we're going to take a call. We've got a call that came in. Unknown number. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going, Mike? How you been? Hey, John, my name's Jake, and I just wanted to interject a few things while you're telling the story about Planet X. The brown dwarf star is named Nemesis, okay?
Yes.
It's not Planet X. Planet X is the planet that is coming through with it.
There are many names for it. To my knowledge, Nemesis is just another name for Planet X.
No.
Etc.
Nibiru and Planet X are two different things than Nemesis, which is the brown dwarf star. It's a mini solar system that's coming through our solar system. Now, Planet X / Nibiru is the planet that comes within our orbit, close enough to us to cause all these disturbances you're talking about. They're two different distinct things. One is a planet. One is a star, a brown dwarf star. Okay, you gotta do the research, brother.
All right. Well, thank you for the call, John. What say you?
Well, I disagree with Jake on that point. From what my studies show that indicate that Nemesis, Nibiru, Planet X, they're all one and the same. It's a brown dwarf star. But anyway, we agree. Jake and I agree pretty much on the most essential point, and that is there's a large body, a huge body that's being pulled in by our sun, and that's really what matters. When the great Earth catastrophes occur, when as this object passes, it makes its closest passage by planet Earth, several million miles away, and its gravitational pull begins to massage Earth's crust and Earth's underlying viscous mantle, and land masses begin to sink and become seabeds, and seabeds rise, are pulled up and become land masses, new land masses. It really won't matter to anybody whether it's a brown dwarf star or whether it's another object that's accompanying it. People won't care. So the main issue is, yes, we have a brown dwarf, we have a massive object, and again, this is a brown dwarf star. According to, let me try to clarify that point that Jake was making.
And
according to the knowledge that I have from, go ahead.
I just want to ask really quick, that's something that's always puzzled me. If it is a brown dwarf star, how come they call it Planet X? It was called a planet. It's been called different names. It was because it was so far out and distant. Let's go back to the 1970s when there were indications that it existed due to the perturbations in our outer planets. That's the first sign that we've ever had, and those indications are it's hard to imagine that those indications of perturbations or pluckings in the paths of the outer planets, Uranus and Neptune, were noticed by astronomers as long ago as the early 1800s, nearly 2 centuries ago. So at that time, they didn't know what it was. I mean, they figured there's a large body out there. They called it a planet because that's what they knew in those times. In those days, I mean, it was so nebulous and so far out, all they could see was the gravitational footprint of this object. So they called it a planet, but it's a misnomer to some extent. But it's really not a misnomer. Because if you look at Jupiter is a gas giant. If Jupiter were just a little bit larger, Jupiter would be a brown dwarf star. Okay, so brown dwarf stars can be called planets. Jupiter is almost on the brink of becoming a brown dwarf star according to its size.
It has all the characteristics of a dwarf star, but it's called a planet, isn't it? I mean, we've always called Jupiter a planet.
Well, that's true. Now, speaking of Jupiter, do you think that in the future it could still ignite into a brown dwarf? Maybe that's the sitting, nemesis, if you will.
Probably not, because, well, first of all, it's hard for Jupiter to gain enough mass. In order to ignite a body, a dwarf star, a smoldering brown dwarf star, has to pick up enough objects and suck them into its center gravitationally and build up its mass enough so that the pressure caused by all this mass converging and aggregating upon itself will cause such intense pressure that nuclear fusion will occur, and that's what the energy from the nuclear fusion is what creates the light and the ignition, just as our sun does. Our sun is a star. It's an adult star, and it's the same as Jupiter, actually. The only difference is our sun has much more mass, many more bodies have aggregated and clumped together to form our sun, and that's why our sun is igniting, because it's much larger than Jupiter, and Jupiter is smoldering. It's actually creating some nuclear fusion, but it's not enough to create visible light. So that's what the whole bottom line is. The greater the mass, the more it ignites with visible light. So I don't think Jupiter's ever going to get that large unless it's something large, another large body really collides with Jupiter, and now it becomes a much greater body. Let's hope that doesn't happen, because Jupiter's mass is critical to shepherding the planets in our solar system, including Earth. And if Jupiter were not as large as it is, and on the same orbital path that it is, it would not keep Earth in its necessary quasi-circular orbit around our sun. And we would be in serious trouble. In fact, there's been speculation that a rogue planet, such as Planet X, could disturb Earth's orbital path and make it less circular and more eccentric, more elliptical. And if that happens, we're all dead.
And it could do this without hitting the Earth.
Without hitting, exactly. In fact, I have videotaped, fortunately, it's videotaped a Weather Channel, a great Weather Channel documentary from the Weather Channel series titled Forecasting the End. And one of the episodes in that I have videotaped, I have it on DVD, and I put it up on my Vimeo channel. And it's titled Rogue Planets. And what they're showing you with wonderful graphics and scientists explaining the phenomena, that Jupiter, and I don't believe it's an accident. I know that God has created all this association of planets and the relationship of planets perfectly, so that Earth would revolve around the sun with rather circular motion and give us livable conditions. So I know that this is by God, but what they're telling us is that Jupiter shepherds the orbital paths of the planets because of its great gravitational pull. It's at just the right distance, and it has just the right mass to create just the right amount of gravitational pull on Earth. Now, they say if a rogue planet comes in, a very large one, and I think they're alluding to Planet X. In fact, what I pointed out something, is a subtle portion of this broadcast on Forecasting the End, Rogue Planets, where they have astronomers showing what they have detected to be a brown dwarf star. And they're saying this is a rogue planet that we've detected, and they're alluding to Planet X, I believe. You can see it in the Vimeo report that I have posted on my Vimeo channel. So they're saying if a rogue planet comes in, we're in trouble, folks, because it's going to pull Earth's orbital path from a circular shape to an eccentric elliptical shape, which means that Earth, during one portion of the year, Earth will come too close to the sun, so close that Earth will become extremely hot. Life will begin to die out. And then during the other seasons, as Earth makes its eccentric revolution around the sun and pulls away from the sun too far away, then Earth will abruptly become so cold that life is threatened and much of life will die. It would be an annual cycle of cold and hot extremes, so extreme that life will die off rather quickly.
Well, it would probably tear the atmosphere apart, I'm guessing. And wouldn't this happen wouldn't we be in trouble if any of the planets were knocked out of their orbit? Because aren't they all kind of depending on one another?
Yes, that's true. That's very true. For example, there's scientists have studied, the great Immanuel Velikovsky studied this, and he talked about Venus being a rather new planet coming into our solar system around 4,000 years ago. And that was just about the time of Planet X's entry. Our evidence shows us that Planet X entered around 36 and a half centuries ago, pretty close to 4,000 years ago. And at that time, this object, Planet X, is like a shotgun with pellets being outlying celestial bodies that it has captured while coming in from deep space, and it carries them in like a gang, like a bee swarm. I liken it to a bee swarm surrounding a beehive, Planet X being a beehive. And turned out that, according to Dr. Immanuel Velikovsky, that Venus was one of the large comets that was one of the gravitationally captured bees of this Planet X around 4,000 years ago. And Venus came in and was captured by the sun and then became a new member of our solar system. Now, before that happened, there was a different orbital relationship between the planets to Earth. And before that happened, before that great celestial occurrence 4,000 years ago, Mars used to make its orbital passages very close to Earth, so close that it would cause upheavals on Earth. And it was around, trying to think now. No, I guess there was some other cometary intrusions that came later than 4,000 years ago, but they're also related to Venus because Venus changed its path. It took several hundred years to make its orbital adjustment into its path.
Something kicked Mars' butt too.
I'm sorry, what?
I say something kicked Mars' butt too.
Yeah, right. So, that was speculated by Dr. Velikovsky to be Venus itself, which came by Mars, and its gravitational pull actually sucked the moisture, the water from Mars's atmosphere and its surface. We all know that there are what looks like riverbeds on Mars. I haven't studied the subject real deeply, so I'm not a great expert on that, but passingly, it's true that the scientific evidence shows that Mars had its atmosphere pulled off, atmospheric water pulled off, and go back to the time of the Great Flood, which was, again, I'll talk about this later, but that was 2 Planet X orbits ago. That would be 2 times 36 and a half centuries ago. Each Planet X incursion with its gang of cometary bees surrounding it, occurring every 36 and a half centuries, because that's how comets operate. This object is like a brown dwarf star planet operating on a cometary orbit. So it's got characteristics of not only a dwarf star, but also a planet, and also motions quite like a comet.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, going back to 2 Planet X orbits ago, that's 2 times 36 and a half centuries ago, which would take you back to around 5,000 5300 BC. 5300 BC. The geologists Pittman and Ryan, I believe it's Pitmann and Ryan, Ryan, they have made a great discovery in recent years, and that is that they believe the Great Flood of Noah's Day occurred around 5300 BC. That's 2 Planet X orbits ago. They don't know anything about Planet X, which makes it even more credible, because when somebody doesn't know anything about Planet X, then you cannot accuse them. They cannot be accused by skeptics of being biased toward the Planet X theory, because they don't know anything about it.
Oh, that's right. You know, I've heard about it for a long, long time. I mean, when I first heard about it, I didn't know all the stuff I know now about it. I thought of it as just this, happy place we might end up one day. Then I, hear it mentioned later as this object that's going to cause problems, and I says, well, damn it, 83, I remember hearing about it. So I've always given it some credence, and that's why I cover it, and that's why I'm waiting for somebody to say, hey, there it is, because I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I just don't know where.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, right now, this is a key time in history for the human race, because the Atacama Large Meter Submillimeter Array of radio telescopes, 66 radio telescopes set together in an array, has detected radios of electromagnetic energy radiating, transmitted back, radiated from sublight portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. And it has detected what they say is Planet X. They believe it's very likely Planet X. They're trying to be scientifically conservative in their response, in their report, which is quite responsible of them, because that's the way scientists should operate. When they see something, they think they know it's Planet X. They cannot declare that it is, but they can say it might be. Let's check it out. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, yeah, I learned my lesson the hard way, too. There's been a few times in my radio career that I thought that, hey, this is it, and I passed it around, and, came back to bite me, although I was, man enough to admit that I made a mistake, and others out there don't. Well, we all do. I mean, that's you've shown that you're human. I've made mistakes, too. So, but we continue on, and that is what human nature is. The honest form of human nature should be about is you try your best to be truthful and to the best of your ability, and you recognize your own mistakes. Those who ignore their mistakes are don't have the integrity, I guess, or they have too much pride to admit it, and it's a shortcoming of all of us, I guess. Exactly. Hey, John, we've got a couple good questions in the chat, and it'd be nice if they private message them to me, because they are good questions. One says, makes you wonder why a comet doesn't just keep on going. Surely the pull of the sun, etc., isn't that strong so far out, but I could be wrong. So that's a good question. How come how much pull does the sun have on how far out? Can it affect these objects?
Okay. Comets very often come close to the sun. I mean, that happens all the time. They come into our solar system. Some of them get so close that they actually crash into the sun. I mean, we've seen that with the SOHO satellite in space, which sits out there and constantly monitors the sun. You see these, looks like discs or frisbees flying into the sun. You'll see this from time to time. Yeah. And these are comets that are actually got sucked right into the sun. Some of them graze the side of the sun and are destroyed. So it happens quite a bit. Now, it's a function, the amount, how far in a comet will come toward the sun is a function of the velocity of the comet, which means its related to its momentum, and the mass of the comet. So you take the mass times the velocity, and in physics, mass times velocity is equal to momentum. So it's the mass of the comet, its velocity at the time, all of these things, and of course the velocity is determined by its distance from the sun at that particular any given time, and because the distance creates a gravitational. The distance is a function of the gravitational pull on the sun, and the greater the gravitational pull, the greater the acceleration, the greater velocity, etc. So it's a variable thing. I'm sorry, go ahead,
and oh no, it's quite all right. And there's a kind of a follow-up on this. That first question was from Bear. He said not quite a question, but I thought it was worth bringing up. JH says, why hasn't Venus and Mercury been sucked into the sun or burnt like charcoal?
Well, because, okay.
Oh, go ahead. No,
they are revolving around the sun. Earth would crash into the sun too, except that Earth is revolving around the sun, and it's a centrifugal force. That outward centrifugal, fuge, from the word fugitive or fleeing, centrifugal force, which is a force which is directed away from the center of an object traveling in a circular motion, that prevents any object, such as a planet, from being pulled in by the centripetal or center-seeking force of the center pulling object, such as the sun. So you have the centripetal force of the sun pulling the object in, and then you have at the same time, coincidentally, you have the centrifugal or outward fleeing force of an object. As you know, when you're driving your car and you make a sharp left turn, what's going to happen? Or make a fast left turn at 90 degrees,
you're going to fly.
Your body is pulled to the right, along the right side of your seat. And this would be centrifugal, an example of centrifugal force pulling away. And that's what prevents the planets from crashing into the sun.
Oh, okay. And now somebody had asked also, he thought Mercury didn't rotate. I didn't know that. Mercury doesn't rotate?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that. You know, Earth rotates every 24 hours, and that's what gives us day and night. But while Earth is rotating, it's also revolving around the sun, and it takes roughly 365 days for Earth to make one full revolution around the sun, and each day is one rotation. So it's wonderful how God set up this synchronicity of motion to create a viable life on planet Earth.
It is incredible. It's just absolutely incredible. So you can't deny
it. Cannot be a coincidence. It cannot be. It's just too astounding and too unlikely to be a coincidence.
Yeah, you cannot deny that there's some intelligence somewhere behind this. I mean, and it's not just us, but there's other solar systems out there that I'm sure are just as lively, if not more so.
Well, just imagine how great God is. He would have created maybe countless solar systems and galaxies with life so abundant that we just can't imagine the magnitude and the vast numbers of life forms that are out there. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing, and makes you realize that when you stop and think about it, God, according to the people, men who have been contacted by God and who show evidence that they were not crazy, but they were actually given messages from God. These men say that this Creator who spoke to them, perhaps even in thoughts, doesn't even have to be a voice, just thoughts in their mind. They are told that God is trying desperately to get us to recognize His presence and to commune with Him. You know, suppose your father was invisible, and you knew he existed because he kept on putting food on your table every day.
Yeah.
And the dishes got washed somehow, miraculously, And, everything was there prepared for you, and yet you knew he was there, but yet you never bothered to even talk to him, even though, just because he was invisible. Well, that's how God feels. He feels hurt because he loves us so much, and he's telling us that he is bringing destruction on earth, and it seems like he's wrathful and angry. But the purpose, he says, is to wake us up to his existence so that he can take us into eternity, take our lives and give us eternal life in this world renewed and devoid of all evil, filled with nothing but love and joy, away from this flawed world. He wants to take us, but he has to have us recognize him in order for us to gain entry into this eternal life. So God doesn't want us just to die, go and have our bodies laid out in a funeral parlor, and now you're dead and everybody cries over you, and then they forget you. They just don't talk about you anymore because it's too sad. So you become a forgotten being that's right. Now decaying in the ground. God does not want that to happen. He wants you and I to go on to another eternal life, never-ending life, with a brand new body that will never disintegrate, never age, never become diseased, and cannot be damaged or injured in any way. That's what God promises us in the Scriptures, that we will be resurrected with a new body, indestructible. And if you look at the spirit of the body, or the essence, it is spirit, it's energy, it's like electromagnetic light. Many people of spiritual nature who are not necessarily Christians believe that. They sense that we are energy, and that energy exists forever. So this is the purpose for this great destruction that comes on earth, because if we didn't have these great cataclysms, we would all be fat, dumb, and happy, and we would watch television and enjoy all the goodies of life, and just have vacation and get a job and get old and retire and die. God doesn't want us that. He wants us. Wants to shake us and wake us.
I don't want that either.
Exactly. So it's an act of love, much more than an act of wrath, that God claims to actually be bringing Planet X upon us. Now, this is a miracle. I'm glad we got off onto this subject here, as I was in the midst of reading a 1983 New York Times article about an hour ago, which I hope to get back to.
Yeah, hold that thought right there. We'll get back to it. We do have to take a break, John. So hang on with us, and we'll pick right back up. We can get to that article and anything else you like. And folks, I hope John's right. I hope it's all right. Not that I doubt that there's something on the other side. I know there is. I hope that they're right. I hope it's as great and it's all good. And that's all you could do, really, is hope, right? That's why I do this show every night, because I have hope. And I'm hoping that one day somebody will show me more and more, because even though I've had experiences and I've seen things, that's great, and that lends me to knowing that there's more to it than just this every day, right? But you always need more. It's like we just, if you don't crave for more, I wouldn't want to be you. You've got, people who think they know it all and that's all. It's just, I crave to know. I want to know. I want to have an out-of-body experience every night. I want to see a UFO every night. I want to experience these things as much as I can, and everybody should. And I want the truth. Is there a planet in our neighborhood, or a brown dwarf star in our neighborhood? And has it got our number on it? Well, some say yes. We'll be back, folks. This is Late Night in the Midlands. My guest is John Dinardo. And, we'll take your calls, too, when we come back. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Joshua Vera, and I wanted to inform you that Late Night in the Midlands is offering limited on-air advertisement. With 30 and 60-second spots available, or inquire about placing your banner ad on the LNM website. Or go ahead and package a deal, but either way, get the attention you deserve and join the LNM family. Contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. Again, that email is mv@latenightinthemidlands.com.
Share our content and use the hashtag LNM Radio for your chance to win a free subscription. Those who use it at least 10 times a month will find themselves entered into a drawing every month to win a free 2-month subscription from Late Night in the Midlands. So spread our news, spread our website, and use hashtag LNM Radio.
LNM fans and late-nighters around the world, have you captured something on that photo or video of yours? Send in your photos and videos of ghosts, orbs, UFOs, Planet X, or just about anything content-related by submitting them to the Late Night in the Midlands Facebook group or fan page, or you can submit them on Twitter using hashtag LNM Radio. And if you would rather stay anonymous, then email them to us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. We will share them at our new fan page on the LNM website and may even ask you to come on air a few minutes and tell us about your photo or video. Late Night in the Midlands. We're building a bridge to the truth and beyond.
Become a late nighter without the late nights. And subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at HealthWorldAffiliates.com/4948. That's HealthyWorldAffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from the CureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
Are you a late nighter? Well, if not, here is one more reason to join the family. We have added the Late Nighters Forum to latenightinthemidlands.com, and it is open for discussion of our many topics and guests. Now you have a place where you can share your thoughts and ideas with the entire Late Nighter community. So become a Late Nighter by subscribing on our website, latenightinthemidlands.com, and start leaving your mark on the Late Nighter community now.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
Is there proof of God's existence in our government's records? Author Jose Collazo brings his years of research into this stunning question to light with his new book. Discover how new and experimental technologies may change our world forever and uncover monumental proof and answers to mankind's greatest questions in God Does Exist, No More Nuclear Testing, and more.
You could find Jose Collazo's book, America's New Slavery, on Amazon.com. Imagine, if you will, a man, a media, speaking the truth. Imagine a show that covers UFOs, ET races, the paranormal, and the not-so-normal. A media that speaks the truth no matter who or what it leads to. Imagine, if you will, a media that covers everything. Folks, you just entered the LNM zone. LNM, keeping it real when others don't.
Become a late nighter without the late nights, and subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information. On on the East Coast of the United States from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. You're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-392-4566 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
All right, we are back, and you know, it could be that the sun is coming, that second sun, that other sun, well, it might be. I don't know. Folks, again, I've got pictures, and you could beat me down if I don't do what I say I'm going to do. I've been meaning to get to it. I haven't, but I'm gonna, and I'm going to do it after tonight's show. After tonight's show, I'm going to get, there's a gentleman who has been sending me photos. I asked him. All right, that wasn't supposed to happen. Anyways, I have a gentleman who, let's turn that off. Let's do that. I've got a gentleman who has been sending me photos. He said that he was going to send them to me. I asked him actually to send them to me every single night, and for a week. And, let's see if you get the same thing. Well, he has. Now, he is in, I believe, if I remember correctly, Louisiana. I'm in South Carolina. I'm guessing that I still need to know what he's taking the picture with. So he hasn't got that information to me yet. But he's gonna, and hopefully tonight, if you're listening, do that so I could get this stuff on the website finally. But, I'm guessing if he could see it, well, then I should be able to too. Right? And this is where I always have the discrepancies with people, because they'll tell me, yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm getting pictures of it. And then I'll ask them how they're doing it, and I'll set up the exact same way, and I'm not getting it. So when that happens, I have to say, hey, okay, there's something else going on here. So far, I've not been able to debunk this guy, except for to say that I've gone out and I've looked at the sun. I've looked at it closely. And I've looked around. As a matter of fact, I went to the planetarium down here in Columbia, South Carolina, and they focused their camera on the sun. And believe me, I was looking, and I didn't see anything around the vicinity of the sun. So, I hear that it's coming from an angle that you might not be able to detect so easily. But I'm trying. I'm telling you this. I'm trying. So the website, www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, and be informed. And by all means, inform others, folks. Support us. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We've given away more subscriptions, I think, than we've actually sold, I guess you could say. I don't know what to say. Call it. So I guess sold, right? So we've given away a lot. I mean, there's people who have said, hey, I can't afford it. They've been regular listeners. I know they've been regular listeners because I've seen them in the chat and this, that. And we've given away. We've done contests and given away plenty of subscriptions. So it's really not about the money. Unfortunately, folks, we do need money to keep the lights on here. We do need money to do what we do. No, we don't need $60,000 a month, and we don't need 30-some grand a month like some. But we do need enough to keep things on. So, I mean, what we get here is really a drop in the bucket, but it's just enough to keep things going. And so we ask you to keep supporting us. Believe me, if it comes to a time where subscriptions are so dominant that we don't have to ask for donations, I won't ask for donations. Right now we have to, because that's what keeps us going. Been doing this for, September will be 9 years. Been doing this, and for 8 of those years, everything was absolutely in the open and free for everybody, always. We still have our content. A lot of it goes on YouTube, a channel that we've given permission to put our stuff on. So, I mean, it's still there. I mean, it's not like it's costing everybody, to see everything. I don't charge for people to chat with me during the show or send me messages during the show. And so, I mean, we try to keep as much free as we can. The only reason there's subscriptions, there's 2 reasons. 1, to help support us. And 2, because we had a lot pirating our show here. And I can't let people do that. I mean, they're taking it, cutting out our any mention of who the host was or the show was, and they were making it like it was theirs. And, and then they were putting all these advertisements in it and making a ton on us. So we were really forced to do it. And, it's not so bad because we give you access to the archives. We also give you access to our LNM forums where you're free to post and do all those things, share videos and pictures and so on. Insider videos we give you as well. And, and again, we give away a lot of subscriptions. So I don't feel bad for asking for a subscription finally after 8 years of never putting anything behind a locked door. And I'll tell you, when we do certain shows, and here's another thing. If a guest says, Michael, will you send me the MP3 of that show? I'll give it to them to post on their website. So, unlike some others. So, for instance, if John Dinardo wants tonight's show because he wants to share it, I give it to him to do that. So, again, it's really not about the money. Unfortunately, we do need your help to do what we do. And I'll stop harping about that. Now I'll get back to John Dinardo. John,
I understand your point, Michael, because I know that your biggest interest in life is bringing the truth, especially spiritual and esoteric truth, to people because you're fascinated by it. This is the great hunger that many of us have, not just material substance, but spiritual, and the quest for truth beyond what we see in front of our eyes. And I know that's what drives you and drives me too. What I do to help others is I make it very easy for myself. It's getting harder because I'm donating to a lot of people right now, but what I do is make an easy $5 a month PayPal donation, and I make it automatic so I don't have to remember. Otherwise, I would never remember to make the donation every month. So I go to PayPal and I donate $5, and I just check the box that says make this a monthly donation. And I do that now. I'm up to about 10 different worthy people that I find as reporters and information specialists.
And I
so
appreciate
it's getting up to
that.
be like $50 a month because I'm donating $5 a month to 10 people, and I made an annual subscription to Late Night in the Midlands also. But that's what I do, and you can urge people to do it. Hey, look, $5 is not, you're not going to notice it. That's like $1.25 a week.
No,
you won't notice it.
That's right. And John, I thank you. And I know you're not just saying that. You do support the ones that support the truth. I've seen you doing it for years, and I appreciate that.
I mean, I don't want to die with money left over. And I want to give it to worthy causes and to spend whatever I have on the truth, which is part of God, because God, one of the aspects of God is truth. And this is more important. I mean, as long as we have enough food to survive on, the truth is what we need to spend our money on. So I just hope that people will realize that, hey, look, it's like being on a ship and trying to deny if that ship is sinking, if you're on the Titanic, if the ship is sinking, trying to deny that it's sinking and to deny that there's water coming in merely because your cabin is warm and the lights are still on. So why not just pull the covers over your head and try to ignore the fact that the ship is sinking?
That's right.
We don't want that to happen with good people around us, good people who are our ship of truth.
Yeah, and the ship really is sinking. I've got actually going to be doing a show, recording a show with Peter Kling on Christmas Eve. And I'll probably run it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and he really believes that the end times are here, and that's what he's going to focus on. And I'm I'm going to join him in the conversation. So we're going to do an hour this Christmas Eve based on that. So, I mean, it seems to be, I mean, I even seen, John, I not kid you, I was looking, shopping around for some stuff for the little guys, right? And there's this SpongeBob. I seen this, it was advertised a Apocalypse SpongeBob playset. I mean, it was literally a playset, teaching the kids of the, I guess, of the apocalypse and getting ready for it.
Yeah, we see many signs of that in our society around us, in the media. So, indeed, the movies that they've been putting out are trying to give us a message, and very often when the truth is suppressed, those people with higher capabilities in the media will give us information that's fictionalized, give us the truth in fictional forms so that they can bypass the diabolical ruling elite who suppress the truth for their own greedy purposes. So, yeah, we're seeing movies coming out about this. The movie 2012 was perhaps maybe designed to tell people, well, okay, here's an apocalypse that we're saying is going to occur in 2012, and lo and behold, it never happened. So it was just a myth. It's not true. Maybe the purpose of the movie 2012 was to do just that, was to disillusion people. But still, it left an impression. And when people see that now, they're beginning to see this tiny red dot in the sky, first discovered by the Atacama Large Meteor Array in Chile in December of 2015, and now it's 2016, and we're beginning to see a tiny little red glowing dot in the sky, and it gets bigger and bigger as the weeks go by. Well, when they see that, they'll look back to 2012 and say, wait a minute, let me go see that movie now. It's really beginning to mean something to me. Well, so I think that's what's going to happen.
I agree, and I look back at some of these older movies, and I see stuff in these movies that now are relevant, very relevant. One was an old Superman movie with Christopher Reeve and Richard Pryor was in it, and they were actually one of the things he did was took control of a satellite and a weather weapon satellite in space. And at the time, you think, ha ha ha, right? But now they have this. I mean, so it was almost like they were telling us then that they had it. And this was, I think, late 70s, maybe early 80s.
Right, and that old movie now takes on greater significance in regard to current events. So, yeah, that's true. And, I guess should get back to the article.
Sure.
But before I do, I just wanted to say that one of the fields of evidence is the periodicity, the regularity of the return of this object. It's a brown dwarf star, which could be classified as a planet also. There's different names given to it. A brown dwarf star, which it is. A planet, which it is. Mm-hmm. Also, because we know Jupiter has the same makeup as a incipient or a newborn brown dwarf star, and Jupiter is called a planet also. So a gas giant such as Jupiter or brown dwarf called Planet X can also be called planets. But also one other thing is this Planet X, because it travels on a cometary orbit, it's considered a massive comet too. And comets, let me give you an analogy. So, as a former high school physics teacher, I can tell you that the greatest motivation of a teacher is to create a realization in the student's mind, such a realization that student will think, wow, aha, I understand now, I see what he's saying, and it makes sense. That's what the impression I want to bring to the minds of people. And I'm going to try to show them visually what's happening and how we can look back 36 and a half centuries ago and another 36 and a half centuries before that and see geological evidence of great destruction occurring throughout and across planet Earth. And one of the examples to show how this object is periodic like a comet is to explain the theory, and this was given in the past by scientists, and it was also stated in the New Science and Invention Encyclopedia of 19. I should remember that. I know I've got it in a book somewhere. New Science and Invention Encyclopedia, somewhat time in the 1987. That's it, the 1987 edition. I could show you the actual photocopy of it. It stated that there was this object, Planet X, and it revolves around two planets, two stars. One is a distant star, billions and billions of miles away. That is our sun's twin sun. And so this object, Planet X, according to the New Science and Invention Encyclopedia, the 1987 edition, which we have a picture of, is Planet X's brown dwarf star revolves around two suns, a distant dead sun, which no longer lights up, but it's still there in great mass, and our sun. And I liken that to two tennis players. Imagine you're looking at a tennis game on television, and the tennis player in the near court is our sun. The tennis player in the far court is our sun's twin sun, a dead sun many billions of miles away. And the tennis ball is this brown dwarf star, Planet X, that is being batted back and forth by the two tennis players. And if they bat it back and forth at regular intervals, rhythmically, it's very much like what's happening with Planet X. There's a force the tennis player exerts on the ball when he hits the ball that sends that ball out to the far court, and the tennis player back there hits it, exerts another force in the opposite direction to bring it back, and you have a continuing cycle. And if it was regular, like a pendulum, which this object is like a celestial pendulum, the time it takes for it to make one complete cycle from the player in the near court back to the player in the near court again, one complete cycle, would be regular, constant every cycle. And that's what we have with this cometary orbit. This definition of a cometary orbit. And this planet is batted back and forth due to the gravitational pull of each sun. It loops around the sun. It's a phenomenon that it doesn't crash into the sun, but it loops around it, because as it approaches the sun, there's a repulsion force due to their magnetic fields. This is a theory, but it makes sense. And that's why they don't crash. The round dwarf star never crashes into the sun. If it crashed into our sun, we'd have serious problems. We would have probably the destruction of planet Earth as a result of the energy that would be released. So we know its object has come in the past many times over the past millennia. So it loops around the sun without destroying the sun. Now, just imagine as the object comes close, it's coming toward the sun, say the distant sun, and it's going to not hit it but pass by it. What's going to happen is going to overshoot the sun. When it overshoots the sun, what is that distant sun going to do? It's still pulling on it, but now it's pulling the object back in the opposite direction, because the object has overshot that distant sun, and now that distant sun is still exerting a gravitational pull, but it's a pulling back of the object. So the net effect is the object makes a circular U-turn around the sun and is slingshotted back, just as our lunar module did. And when they went to the moon, or supposedly, or in other space missions where there was a module that was slingshotted around the moon to go back to the Earth, and that's scientifically proven because we've done it already. Our government has done it. So that's how this object makes its regular travel back and forth like a tennis ball being batted back and forth by two tennis players, analogous to our sun and our sun's distant dead sun. Okay, enough of that. That's why it's periodic. Now let's show the proof that it's periodic. 36.5 centuries ago, we have great evidence from various fields indicating that Earth underwent tremendous destruction. We have, first of all, the account from the Bible in the book of Genesis of the Israelites being liberated by God from Egyptian bondage, and there were earth disasters that accompanied it. There were 10 plagues that are described in the Bible. There were a whole variety of different disasters, and we can expect those disasters to occur again on planet Earth. So if you read the book of Exodus, you'll be reading tomorrow's news today. It tells about, first of all, the destruction of the fish in the ocean began dying. That was one of the first signs. Well, what do we have today? We're seeing that now, great die-offs of fish. That was described in the book of Exodus, which geologists tell us occurred around 36.5 centuries ago. First, the fish died off, and then I'm trying to recollect all the various plagues. It was like a litany, a series of disasters. One precipitated another. The fish died off in the ocean, and then as a result, the frog population expanded to a point where it became disastrous. There were frogs everywhere. And of course, that would be caused by changing biological conditions in the waters. The oceans turned red. We see red tide today. We see a lot of the signs of those disasters that occurred described in the book of Exodus 36.5 centuries ago. And then following that, there was great diseases that killed the cattle, plagues that occurred. That was part of the whole series, that litany of disasters. So we can expect that to happen, diseases. I think we're seeing it already. And then it got worse to a point where there were bombardments of Earth by meteors. And many of them were electrical. Some of them could have been also by the weather. We have bombardments of Earth due to hailstones, massive hailstones, unprecedented in size. So you could see them on YouTube. You could see them on the Weather Channel. And I've been following the Weather Channel for a long time, and I've videotaped reports of hailstones as large as grapefruits, and they showed it.
They're giving out warnings for this Christmas era. With the weather being so warm, that they expect tornadoes to be kicking up in different places.
That is crazy. You're right. I mean, this is extremely worrisome to see such wild weather. And it's been going on for at least a decade now, because I've got videotape documentation of it from the Weather Channel. And, I mean, floods are so horrendous, epic floods, epic droughts. We tend to forget them, but if you look back at the records, I could never go through all the videotapes I have of these disasters. I recall a few. I mean, we're going back like, 2005. I remember I have on videotape somewhere in a box of videotapes, 6-hour videotapes, picture of a car hanging from a tree. The car was able to hang from the tree because the river, the water on the dry land in a community got so high that the car floated up to the top of a tree and was hanging there when the water receded.
Well, we had historic floods here in Columbia, South Carolina. Well, pretty much the whole state.
I remember that.
Yeah, we got hammered here. I mean, we had some historic buildings right off over here in Lexington that collapsed because the ground under them had like rivers flowing underneath them, and they just gave out. I mean, I seen houses missing. There's sections of roads still missing here.
That's That's right.
So yeah, it's
and with the extremes too. We go to the other extreme, where the drought has been so intense in some areas, and I have this on videotape from the Weather Channel also, where the houses were beginning to sink and crumble, and their foundations, because the ground got so dry and parched that it began to contract and crack, and the houses were collapsing. The foundations were breaking up because of this extreme dryness. And then all of a sudden, it changed in Texas. It went from extreme drought to extreme flooding and storms. I mean, it was so, I feel sorry for the people in Texas and actually everywhere when you stop and think about it. Charleston, South Carolina, that whole area.
And they're still dealing with problems. I mean, it's not over yet. People don't hear much about it now, but I mean, there's still water draining off. It's still continued to rain here. I mean, we've still gotten a lot of rain since then. So, you know, I'm sure the lower part of the state is still dealing in areas, I'm sure, with floodwaters.
Well, you know, that's kind of scary because when you have that much weight from water, Charleston is already an earthquake.
I know.
Earthquake time bomb.
I think about it all the time. We're right on the border of that fault, right? So if that shook, I would certainly feel it.
Yeah, that's why we got to stay attuned to earthquake signs. I believe in California there was a great earthquake that was followed great flooding. So sometimes great flooding is an indication of an earthquake.
I agree with that. There's been plenty of cases where, and I think that it's almost scientifically proven that the water will act as a lubricant. You get too much of it, and the plates shift, and it's on.
Right. It's the water, the lubricating effect of the water, and also the weight.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of weight. I was seeing a documentary about a dam. Yeah, I remember now. It was somewhere, one of the science channels. This huge dam was holding so much water that it caused the earth to shift and actually precipitated an earthquake.
Yeah. I mean, that happens. A lot of dams gave here, a lot of levees broke here in South Carolina, but the one that didn't was the Lake Murray Dam. Thank God, because if that one had given out, I wouldn't have escaped the floodwaters. A lot of people wouldn't have. Columbia would have been like a small ocean here. So,
well, you know, I'm sad to say that we're going to see worsening of these extreme weather disasters, and that's why we have to get prepared. For example, I mean, you can't move out of your house. I understand you're stuck there just like I'm stuck in my house. But you can prepare. For example, think about, you know, everybody listening, and tell your friends too, because you have to warn. This is a show the subject that you need to tell others about.
Well, here's the thing, John. I could go anywhere in the country I want right now. The only problem is Autumn's not having it. She wants to stay with family. So, and I don't want to leave either. So I'm with it. I mean, the way I see it, if the man upstairs needs me to leave to survive, then I will get that warning, and hopefully I don't overlook it.
That's right. Keep in contact mentally with God. And it seems difficult to do, but during my day, what I try to do is constantly, and it's difficult too, because there are demonic forces, believe it or not, entities that do not want us to commune with God, which is why most people are unaware of God, because of these demonic entities. We call them fallen angels. I know I'm a scientist, but yet I understand that science is also metaphysical. There's a lot in science that we don't understand. For example, entities that exist in another dimension. Science is now proving that there are other dimensions that exist. And in those dimensions, can be beings and I know there are beings that cannot be seen because they don't have physical attributes. So those entities affect our mind, though, and our spirits, and cause us to be disbelieving. And this is a whole problem with people, man, God's creation, not recognizing their creator. Well, anyway, you're doing the right thing by keeping your mind on God's presence, because you're struggling like a salmon swimming upstream against the demonic barrier, a smoke screen of belief that this God must be here, because why is your heart beating? Your heart would never get that signal, that electrochemical signal to keep it beating. It's like a spark to a spark plug. Without that spark, that piston is not going to fire in your engine, and the car is not going to go. You need that spark, electrochemical spark. Somebody has to determine that it's going to occur.
Well, my heart just beat kind of fast now, because I don't know if everyone heard that, but boy, a plane come awful close. I mean, it was pretty loud. We've got a call here. We've got Ira on the line. Ira, welcome aboard.
Hello, gentlemen. This has been a great conversation tonight so
Thank
far.
you.
Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, I am.
I can.
Okay. Did you hear that plane?
I did, yeah. I heard it. I heard something. I wasn't sure what it was.
Because if you didn't, I won't mention it again. But yeah, it was awful close. Go ahead.
I just wanted to toss in here real quick while you guys were discussing the fracking thing in the water that's being injected, and the fact that the earthquakes seem to be related. I can totally agree with that. If you think about things in this way as well, water is like one of the only substances that does not compress. Oil does. So I think that's one of the problems, is that when we see earthquakes occur, they tend to be a little bit lighter because the oil is actually compressing and it's acting like more of a shock absorber, whereas a water injection actually acts as more of a solid material, so it causes the earthquakes to be that much worse, basically.
That's a good point. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Ira.
Yeah, you bet. I just thought I'd toss that in there for you guys, and just for kind of sake of knowing.
Yeah, I mean, we should know that, because the floods are just horrendous, and they've been occurring all over the earth. I mean, we forget. It's so easy for us to forget these disasters, flood disasters. But I can, again, because I've been following the Weather Channel, I've got videotapes, and you can go on YouTube and look it up. Australia, the entire continent of Australia was underwater practically just a few years ago, but nobody remembers it now, that great catastrophe. The entire nation of Pakistan, I believe, was underwater, but nobody remembers it. Poland had horrendous flooding, caused great deaths. Nobody remembers that. Portugal, Spain, England. I remember in England there was such floods. It was so disastrous, and it's happened a number of times. So just to let you know that these floods are occurring around the world, and the fact that the water is instrumental, or the weight of the water and the non-compressibility of water is instrumental in causing earthquakes that are going to be precipitated by the flooding. So it's important to know that the floods, the earthquakes, are all related. So this is what we can expect. And Michael, you're in a position now where you don't have to sell your house. I don't have to sell mine. What we need to do is just be alert to disasters and be prepared for them. For example, this brings me to another. This is such a subject with so many ramifications, it's hard to hit on them. But luckily, as we talk, our minds are triggered, our memories are triggered as to various facets of this vast subject. And one facet that comes to mind is the great threat of an East Coast tsunami that will wipe out Charleston, will wipe out me here in New Jersey. Although I'm fortunate, and I feel sorry for others, but I'm fortunate in the sense that Long Island and Staten Island are blocking a lot of that tsunami wave that would come in because I'm in northern New Jersey. But I would want to spend my time warning others that they need to prepare for this East Coast tsunami. I have the documentary from the great scientists, the geologists at the Open College in London, England, Dr. Simon Day and Dr. Bill McGuire, who have warned in documentaries, wonderful documentaries, one of which is called Mega Tsunami. You can look that up on YouTube. Please do, because it's so important. Where they don't even know about Planet X, these geologists, Dr. Day and Dr. McGuire. But they're saying the Cumbre Vieja volcanic mountain is an island on the island of La Palma. It's a mountain which constitutes the entire island of La Palma. It's called the Cumbre Vieja volcanic mountain. And in 1949, a split occurred on the western flank, along the western flank, such that that western flank is completely separated from the mountain proper. And water is building up in that extinct volcano, such that when a volcano begins to erupt, the heat from the magma will definitely, they tell us it will definitely heat up the water that is trapped in those many, many fissures within the crack, the separation of the western flank. And when that water heats up, as you know, water pressure is unstoppable. Steam will be created and will push out, open, break open, separate that already separated 500 billion ton western flank. That's what they tell us the weight of it is. 500 billion tons western flank of the Cumbre Vieja in the Canary Islands off the west coast of Africa in the Atlantic Ocean. It will slide into the ocean, and they're telling us the entire scenario because they've done it in microcosm. They've done in laboratory experiments, small-scale experiments with large objects sliding into a large body of water in the laboratory, and they've calculated that the tsunami that would result, the first splash of that 500 billion ton western flank into the Atlantic Ocean would be like the height of 2 Empire State Buildings stacked one atop the other. Then it would level out because in the deep ocean the wave height will level out, and there will be not much threat to shipping in those deep oceans, but it will travel at a speed, and this is all their calculations, not mine, at a speed of 450 miles an hour, which is faster than a jet, and it would reach faster than a passenger jet. This wave would reach the east coast of the Americas in 8 hours. It would also reach England and Portugal and Spain, in less than 8 hours. When it reaches the East Coast, its height, they estimate, would be, I think it's at least 30 stories high. And it would devastate and wipe out, depending upon the terrain, it would wipe out areas inland as far as 12 miles inland along the east coast of the U.S. That means Boston, New York would be wiped out, destroyed. Charleston, Norfolk, Virginia, Miami, especially Miami, because of its low altitude, all of them would be destroyed. Even South America, even the east coast of South America. Now, we don't have much warning, actually, because even the buoys out there, the buoys can detect a tsunami, but you've got, 8 hours? That's not enough time. It's going to be less than 8 hours. If people are asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, who's going to tell them? What sirens are going to wake them up and say, hey, there's a tsunami coming? They won't even know what the siren means if the sirens sound. They won't even wonder to figure, well, there's a fire, or is it a tornado, or what's going on here?
Well,
they'll be dead before they even get out of their beds.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you something else, John, that most people, and I know this because here, when there is a tornado warning or something along them lines, most people say, it never happens, it's not going to happen. And they're crazy for thinking that because it happens.
That's right. A lot of people have been saved, and I've seen it on the Weather Channel, because they were awakened by their weather radio, or if they were lucky enough to have the TV on, they got a warning, and they were saved because they rushed down to the basement where they went to an center closet under the stairwell. In my basement, I have a closet area. Well, it's encased in sheetrock, which is not much. Yeah. But at least it's an inner room. And they went down there, and they survived when the rest of the house was collapsed. So yeah, you have to have a weather radio. I have to set my weather radio, which I haven't done yet, to the right channel and all that. It stays on constantly, but it doesn't make any sound until there's an emergency, and then it starts squawking. So you got to do things like that. And also, weather flooding, Michael, what you can do and what I need to do. Well, I'm in pretty good altitude, but for those people, and there are many of them across the country who are susceptible to flooding, epic flooding, and they should have rafts. They should have pontoon rafts or any kind of flotation devices, even those life vests that are activated and inflated by a CO2 cartridge. You pull the cord and the cartridge instantly inflates the raft. We talked about this in the last show that we had together, Michael, where people should have these in their car, because you could find yourself, even the safest driver who turns around not to drown, can find himself in a flash flood in a matter of minutes. The car's floating. He's about to die. And he has to get out of the car, so, roll down the window before the battery is killed by the flooding, and put on your life vest and get out of there. That could save your life just by carrying a couple of life vests in the car for you and your passengers, things like that. So we have to think proactively about flooding, avoiding floods, and all kinds of disasters.
Yeah, absolutely, we do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I paused for a moment because I heard a little static in the headphones, and I'll be damned if it didn't sound just like that water again. I thought it was happening again, but no, it's just something in the headphones. Thank God. But folks, I've sent over Ira a few pictures. Two of them are from right now, from in the studio. And at some point, I think he'll throw them in there if he gets around to it. He's busy, so he might or he might not. I can't do it right now, so otherwise I would. But I do have more pictures of like Planet X and these UFO pics too that have been being worked on. I'll get those ready for tomorrow night so I could share them in the chat room as well. And John, we have another call here, so I want to take it. I'm trying here. Okay, there we go. 814 area code. Who we got? Where are you calling from?
This is Chuck from Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Well, welcome aboard, Chuck.
Hi, Chuck. Yeah, I just wanted to... Hi, how you doing, John?
Fine, thanks.
Say hi to you and Michael and Ira on the other line if he's still there. If not, he's in the background somewhere.
He actually hung up, but yeah, thanks for the call too, Ira.
Anyhow, I just wanted to mention a little bit more proof on your thing. The Illuminati people, or whatever you want to call them, celebrate this black sun. And they're not talking about our sun going dark or anything like that. And also, a picture of Isis, or a statue of Isis, that goddess from Egypt or whatever she's from, has a set of bull horns, kind of like the Taurus bull, with a black sun in the center. Some people call it other things, whatever, energy or whatever. Basically, it's the black sun, or what you're talking about is, the nemesis, or whatever you want to call it, that star that's coming into our system. And I was listening on, it's kind of, coincidental, or if you want to call it coincidence, another show that was talking about Planet X, and it's supposed to be from the tribulationtechnow.org by the non-human entities.
Would you repeat the name of that website again?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that's where it came from, but that's what it was listed underneath. Tribulation or now.org. And it was aired by the non-human entities. And I didn't get the guy's name, and I tried to go back to get it, but I can't get the thing to restart. And it was aired supposedly December 3rd of this year. And he mentioned about it going to be coming through the Taurus bullhorns. Of course, we're talking the star system. And then I see that picture or that statue of Isis with the bull horns and the black sun in the middle. And like I say, you know, coincidence, maybe once, but just twice. And then I click back to your show earlier than normal because I listen to Hagman also. And you come on the air about this, and I'm going, you know, 3 times in a row talking about this. And it just so happens, like, you know, I page through the internet all day. I'm on disability, so I ain't got nothing better to do. But it's really, really something different.
I remember seeing, occult, and maybe Michael, too, has seen occult references to Planet X. And, you know, that reminds me that they, even going back into ancient history, they called it the evil elite in ancient times, called it Marduk, this Planet X, which was, they considered it a god. And if you look at the great archaeologists and anthropologists who just passed away, Zechariah Sitchin, he mentions that kind of he has those references in his book, The 12th Planet, where he talks about Marduk and the diabolical elite actually have, you know, I haven't studied it real intensely, but there's so much occult in their rituals, which they believe gives them power. And this could be one of them. You know, Marduk is what they worship. They make it an object of worship as they worship Satan in order to keep their power, and in order to, they believe, falsely, will protect them if they worship these evil occult entities who they falsely believe represent this great dwarf star, which I know is being brought in by God. So you're right. I mean, there are occult references that we need to study, because when we see the diabolical ruling elite's occult references today, we then get clues as to what they're up to and what they're expecting, and how that would jibe with what we're seeing coming in, and how that would jibe with what the astronomers, the independent astronomers at the great observatory, the largest observatory on planet Earth, have just recently reported. And this is the big news of this show, is that Planet X, they say Planet X has been sighted. And that reminds me, your question reminds me that what happened was there was to show me greater evidence and to support their finding, their sighting of this Planet X at the Atacama Large Meter Array, that's ALMA as an acronym, observatory in Chile. What gives greater support to the observers and to students of this subject is that the diabolical ruling elite instantly reacted with a hatchet job, a hit piece, a critical, snide, sloppy slander, smear of the sighting by these astronomers. And that leads you to believe that there's no reason for the elite in their organ of disinformation, the Washington Post. There's no reason for them to discredit it. Why should they discredit it?
All right. Well, that's what they do first. They try to discredit. If not, they try to warn. And then if not, well, we all know what follows after that. It's not worth talking about because no one's around to hear it then. But
that's right. Yeah, so they know that they're going underground. The evidence is all there. The London Daily Mail has reported that they are going deep into the bowels of Cheyenne Mountain in their great, vast underground city there, and also in the bowels of Mount Weather in West Virginia. They're descending underground. Alex Jones had some emergency reports, which I have put on my YouTube channel and my Vimeo channel, where Alex Jones got under. He said, look, this is an emergency report I have. He made 2 of them in this year, 2015. One emergency report in June, I believe, and then another in October. And he said, this is my second emergency report. verifying that the elite are going underground. They're buying redoubts and underground habitations in New Zealand, and they're disappearing, and something's going on here. I don't know what it is. And of course, you can expect a nuclear war. You can expect a major war because they're like saboteurs, these diabolical ruling elite. They will throw a grenade into a crowd and they'll duck for cover after they throw it, waiting for the explosion and making sure that they themselves are safe. That's what they're going to do with this nuclear war that they're planning. They're going underground. They don't want to be nuked, and the way they're going to escape the nuclear war is to be underground where they're protected. I have information from a renegade CIA person. I think I can mention her name, and her name's on the internet already. It's Dr. Susan Arrigo, Arrigo. A number of years ago, a journalist. Hold on 1 second, please.
Okay, and Ira's back with us as well. So, was that John who said hold on? Oh, okay.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I had to leave the phone. I would say about 2007. I would say about 7 years ago. A journalist friend of mine told me that she was contacted by this Dr. Susan Arrigo, who used to be with the CIA, and she had told her Dr. Susan Arrigo was a renegade. She had left the CIA, and I think she was essentially on the run. I hope she's still alive. She had told us that they were trying to start a war in Iran by provoking Iran with bombings and things like that, for terrorist acts, and that they were going to trigger this war. It was going to be a nuclear war, but they were prepared. The diabolical ruling elite were prepared to go underground to escape the nuclear disaster above ground. Mm-hmm. And then they were going to come up after the dust had cleared and the radioactive fallout was still around, but everything else was like the world would be devastated by a nuclear winter, and there would be maybe just a small remnant of humankind left alive. They would come up, ascend from their underground cities, and I was told then that the elite have this technology, which I believe because I've seen other reports of it, technology where they can actually decontaminate and neutralize radioactive fallout, radioactive contamination in a small area of the Earth.
And John, I'll say this. I would think that these underground facilities, these bunkers, and they got so much under there. There's tunnels, roads, cities, farms, you name it. And I think much of this is to survive something like a nuclear war. I think they'd be naive to think that they can survive something like a Planet X.
No, they won't.
Yeah, because
in fact, you're right, Michael. Because see, they have no other choice. This is what I've always said. People say, "Well, how could this be true? Why are they going underground if they can't survive underground?" Well, they have no choice. They've been thinking about going into the International Space Station to go up in space for a time, but you're going to get fried up in space because there's going to be so much electrical discharge from the plasma-drenched objects coming in, from the plasma discharges that are excited within our solar system when this object comes in, that anything like satellites are going to get zapped and fried, vaporized, and it's going to be unsafe there. They know that. Their scientists tell them that. They have to go underground because, you see, they know that Earth's surface is going to get unbearably hot, such that life will be destroyed. A great amount of life will be destroyed. So they have no choice but to go underground where it's very unsafe. But yet, if they stay on ground, they'll be fried. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Earth is already getting hot. The supposed global warming thing, the electromagnetic is already getting heated up. This happened before in history, everything else. And the Indians did survive before. They were taken underground by some kind of entity, but they were brought back up. But that was a different time. It was during the flood, I guess, or whatever.
And what I'm finding, I'm sorry, Ira, one thing here. What I'm finding, though, with this whole the Earth is warming thing is that they've refused to follow any of the data from the satellite images, which actually show that the Earth hasn't warmed at all in 25 years. And I mean, this is real. You could go, I'm not saying which one's more accurate, but I would think the satellites are. What do you think, Ira?
Well, I was just going to add in that, you're correct on the fact that Native Americans talk about the fact that they were saved by going underground. They actually went underground. They were prompted to go underground by the Great Spirit, and they were taken care of underground by what they refer to as the ant people. And then when the time came to be able to come back up and rebirth up into the new world, basically, the ant people helped them to get up and start surviving. So just kind of an interesting little toss out there.
Yeah, the praying
the
mantis.
American Indians were very spiritual, and even though they knew nothing about the Bible, they were so close to the creation and to nature that they actually could feel the presence of God, many of them. And as a result, I think they were protected by God, spirits of God, angels. This has happened in the past where people chosen by God or most people are chosen by God, are protected. So, I believe that the Indians were protected.
All right. Anything else, caller?
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for taking my call, and you have a good night.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the info.
Yeah, thank you very much for the call, and thank you for listening. And Ira, anything else?
Yeah. The reason why I was calling back actually was when you were talking about the elites in regards to the sun and the black sun and all that kind of stuff. It reminded me actually of a bit of research that I've done where a lot of these different corporations and other entity out there, they have this big focus on their symbology being related to the sun. And from what I can find out, basically it's kind of like in regards to something that they call the dawning of the new sun or the dawning of the new day, basically, or the new dawn. And I wonder if there is a relation to this stuff to what you're discussing here with the Planet X and all of the other things that are going on with it, basically.
Well, let's see now. The new sun, according to the Bible, prophecy given by the Son of God, the sun will become, this is in the book of Revelation now, at some point, the sun will become extremely hot, blazing hot, such that everyone on the surface will be scrambling to go underground to escape the heat. And, it will come, the destruction of the earth will ramp up to such a point in so many disastrous ways with earthquakes, etc., that virtually no life will be able to exist except, and this is what I prayed about because it has to be understood through spiritual prayer and communion with God. In the Bible, it's not specifically stated in the book of Revelation, but the ones who will survive the destruction of the earth are the ones who will be taken up at the very end when the earth undergoes complete destruction. Now, taken up would be in terms of the spirit, not the body. The body would be left behind, and the spirit would be taken up in an instant, in a twinkling of an eye, according to the scriptures. And that can happen when, for example, we have electricity, a lightning bolt, a transmission of energy occurs at the speed of light. Radio waves travel at the speed of light. The spirit of the body, I infer and intuitively feel that the spirit of the body transmits upward toward God, at a particular time in our lives when the life is over. It's transmitted upward at the speed of light. And those are the ones who survive. Their spirits survive. Their bodies left behind like a cocoon of a butterfly leaving the cocoon. Mm-hmm. And they take on a new body. I know it's strange to us because we don't experience this in our physical life, but this is the metaphysics that are being proven, being shown by advanced studies, such as the study of other dimensions and the spirit of the body. It's just amazing. But that reminds me of actually videotaped these true stories from a series that I can no longer find on the Destination America channel.
Okay,
Thank goodness I
John, hold that thought for a moment, just for a moment. We got to take our last break. And so, gentlemen, both of you, hang on, and we'll come back and we'll pick right back up where we left off. But I do have to take this break because we're getting down on time. So, folks, this is Late Night in the Midlands. My guest is John Dinardo. We've also got Ira on the line. We'll get back to him as soon as we get back from this break. Folks, if you haven't become a late nighter, do it. We're real. What can I say? And we've got plenty of live shows on this network as well, and we're going to be adding more, as a matter of fact, as we head into the new year. It's getting really good here, so become a late nighter, support what we do here so we can support those who help us, and let's keep this train rolling. And, well, again, we'll be back in just a few moments. This is Late Night in the Midlands.
Tied up inside, got Jesus on your mind, and a boy that just won't fight. Baby, it's a grind, and this your bitter life. Nothing just won't do.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver. Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
Hey, folks. Do you love Late Night in the Midlands? Do you miss shows because of the time of night? Do you wish you could listen at your convenience? Well, we can help you out with that one. Become a late nighter without the late nights and subscribe. Become a late nighter for just $5 a month. That's right, $5 a month for the paranormal, the unknown, the known, but most important, the truth. Go to www.latenightinthe.midlands.com and subscribe right away to become a late nighter and help keep the LNM radio network on the air.
Share our content and use the hashtag LNM Radio for your chance to win a free subscription. Those who use it at least 10 times a month will find themselves entered into a drawing every month to win a free 2-month subscription from Late Night in the Midlands. So spread our news, spread our website, and use hashtag LNM Radio.
LNM fans and late nighters around the world, Have you captured something on that photo or video of yours? Send in your photos and videos of ghosts, orbs, UFOs, Planet X, or just about anything content related by submitting them to the Late Night in the Midlands Facebook group or fan page, or you can submit them on Twitter using hashtag LNM Radio. And if you would rather stay anonymous, then email them to us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. We will share them at our new fan page on the LNM website and may even ask you to come on air a few minutes and tell us about your photo or video. Late Night in the Midlands. We're building a bridge to the truth and beyond.
Are you a late nighter? Well, if not, here is one more reason to join the family. We have added the Late Nighters Forum to latenightinthemidlands.com, and it is open for discussion of our many topics and guests. Now you have a place where you can share your thoughts and ideas with the entire Late Nighter community. So become a Late Nighter by subscribing on our website, latenightinthemidlands.com, and start leaving your mark on the Late Nighter community now.
The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
Is there proof of God's existence in our government's records? Author Jose Collazo brings his years of research into this stunning question to light with his new book. Discover how new and experimental technologies may change our world forever and uncover monumental proof and answers to mankind's greatest questions in God Does Exist, No More Nuclear Testing, and more.
You could find Jose Collazo's book, America's New Slavery, on Amazon.com. Hey, late nighters, I have a secret I want to share with you. What if I told you there's a way to hear some of our show content free on YouTube? Well, it just so happens there's a guy who is honest and supports Late Night in the Midlands big time. And he owns a YouTube channel I highly recommend. Non-Human Entities. Yes, non-human entities. And if you do not have a pencil handy, no sweat. You can just click one of the many banners on our website. Non-human entities. That's non-human entities. Again, just look for them on YouTube or click the banner on latenightinthemidlands.com for non-human entities.
On the East Coast of the United States, from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Dara. To talk to Michael Dara, dial 803-392-4566 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID LNM Radio.
Red Rain. We are back, folks. And no red rain over here yet anyways. But we're discussing Planet X and the whereabouts and the ins and outs and all that good stuff that relates to the topic. We've had a few really good calls, had some good questions come from the chat, and of course John has been going through much of the history and updates. He says that they say they found it. Well, now I've got to know who has found it and where can we find it. And so that's next here. Become a late nighter so you can have the late nights without the late nights, or maybe you just want to support us and keep us on the air. And by the way, contact your local radio stations and ask them, say, do you want a real media, a real show, a truthful guy hosting a truthful show on your station? Because if so, then maybe you might want to give them my contact at latenightinthemidlands.com. Of course, the email address, mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. And I'll tell you what, I've proved it once before. I'm not a bragger or anything, so I'm not going on one of those rants. But I'll say this: I proved it here in Columbia when I was on WOIC. We drowned Coast out, and if I was on these stations, some of these shows, I think they'd have a little run for their money. Yeah, I cover a lot of stuff that some of it's strange and but when we get into the truth, as we do so often here, but we also get into expanding the mind. And, I'm not tied back. I could say what needs to be said. I could say what I want because I have no ties to nobody. We're independent. We truly are. And we're keeping it that way, even though several through the years have, tried to get their grip on us. And it's not that we think we're the best. We just know that we're the most truthful. We're not influenced. We don't go along to get along. And, so let's get back to it with my guest, John Dinardo. And I hope you'll continue to support us at latenightinthe-midlands.com. John, so you say that they said they found it. This is a recent report?
Yes, it was earlier this month. In fact, just maybe about a week or two ago. All you have to do is go to your search engine and type in the acronym ALMA, which stands for Atacama. That's ATACAMA. 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 You could type in that word also. Large Meter Array Observatory. Or you could just type in the acronym ALMA, ALMA. That observatory is the largest telescope on planet Earth. It's a radio telescope, which picks up the spectrum, electromagnetic spectrum of the subvisible light energy, the magnetic energy that comes from electromagnetic energy that's emanated from distant objects. When they emit infrared light, for example, infrared is electromagnetic energy. It's of the same type of electromagnetic energy of radio waves and television waves. So this array of 66 antennas, receiving antennas, constitutes the largest telescope on Earth. And they have said in the article, and I can paraphrase it, we think we have discovered Planet X. They actually mentioned it in the article. You'll see it reported in the London Daily Mail, I believe. You can look that up.
Okay.
And so it's out there. Now, the evidence that we see, that they've actually found it, the evidence that I notice, and we all should notice, is that the diabolical ruling elite have instantly, in a knee-jerk reaction, attacked these astronomers, these independent, sincere, honest astronomers who are not tied to any government funding whatsoever. And why would they attack these astronomers unless they were afraid of something? The Washington Post, which is the organ of disinformation of the diabolical ruling elite, it's owned by the Graham family, Catherine Graham, infamous Council on Foreign Relations member. They had this Sarah Kaplan, a sloppy journalist, let's say a hatchet-wielding journalist.
I see. Just to cut in for a second, John. Now, some would say, I have had many tell me, well, NASA, they call any planet that they've just discovered and not given a name, they call it Planet X, and that's what they'll say.
Well, they would say it's a Planet X, but in this case, they said we think we have discovered Planet X.
I see.
And I don't believe anyone that insinuation that any newly planet discovered would be called a Planet X. No, I don't believe that, because it's why then would the elite have buried the term Planet X ever since 1983, when the NSA became quite secretive. The diabolical ruling elite who controlled the National Security Agency became so secretive and concerned about reportage regarding Planet X that the name was banned You did not see that name anymore. So I don't believe that insinuation that the term Planet X refers to any planet generically, newly discovered.
And one other thing I want to run by you, too, because some tell me that if you don't talk about this, then, that's how they could determine whether you're real or not. So, me, honestly, I'm going to say it, I find it almost laughable, okay? I'm just going to put it out there. I do, and you could say maybe I'm brainwashed, because who knows, maybe I am. But flat Earth, John, they're telling me that the Earth is flat. What say you on that?
The Earth, who's telling you that the Earth is flat?
There's people who are telling me that if guys like you and I don't talk about flat Earth, then we're not real. So, should we be talking about this?
I don't talk about flat Earth. No,
I don't mean to offend anybody out there who does. I'm sorry, but nobody has given me that type of evidence. I get messages from people talking about.
Look at the photographs, the films of planet Earth from space, from space and from the International Space Station.
Well, that's just it.
It's proof right there.
I think that it's been canned. I think a long time ago, and I'm not saying it because I don't want to believe it. It's just, I don't know. Somebody sent me a video and says that if this don't convince me, nothing will. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't watch but maybe 8 minutes of it, and I had to turn it off because the guy was it was incredibly just I couldn't watch it. But.
Yeah, you can't. You can't allow you can't allow the disinformation coming from any area. Or at least we can tolerate anyone's free speech, but we also have the right to respond.
Right.
So, for example, we talk about the photographs from space that show that the Earth is not flat. We also, if you stand on the shore and watch a ship going out to sea, does that ship, if you had a telescope, if the Earth were flat, you'd be able to see that ship at great distances away, wouldn't you? But you can't, because the ship appears to sink below the horizon as it gets farther out. Doesn't it? That indicates that there's a curvature to the Earth.
I agree. You're not getting no disagreement from me. But there's people who, and they get mad because, I chop them at the bit quick on it because I'll go as far with the Planet X and even bases on the moon, and the moon might be hollow. Okay. I'll go there. But flat Earth, I think it's been proven without a shadow of a doubt that we've got somewhat round rocks floating in space. That's me. If you could prove me wrong, by all means, contact me, but have real evidence, and I know you're not going to have it because it just don't exist, but I'd be glad to entertain it. But it's all it is entertainment for me. Anyways.
At least you give them give them the freedom to express themselves.
Well, yeah,
and
exactly.
then just let it go at that. But I wanted to get back to this
Sure.
New York Times landmark article that I began reading it from January 30th because I want to present further scientific evidence that this brown dwarf star exists. And the title of the article, again, I'll just go over it briefly, is Clues Get Warm in the Search for Planet X. They're talking about not a Planet X, but the Planet X by John Noble Wilford, January 30th, 1983, New York Times. Now, their article states that ever since the 1800s, astronomers noticed perturbations or a plucking of the outer planets Uranus and Neptune from their revolutions around the sun, eccentricities that can only be explained by a large, unseen gravitational body pulling at these planets at some point in their revolutionary path around the sun. So quite logical. So they logically theorized that there's a large planet out there, which was discovered in the discovered by NASA, which in the way of sending out the Pioneer 10 space probe, which I described before, which was to feel a gravitational pull by this unseen body at some point, at the point where they calculated that this unseen gravitational body existed. And they never told us, because they keep it secret, they never told us the results of the Pioneer 10 trajectory perturbation, which would have proven that the gravitational body indeed was there. We were never told about that. No. Why not? Because they knew that there was a perturbation. They didn't want us to know about Planet X. However, the NSA was not quite as suppressive and didn't have the knowledge at the time to suppress NASA. When NASA in 1983, January, New York Times said, quote, recent calculations by the United States Naval Observatory have confirmed the orbital perturbation exhibited by Uranus and Neptune, which Dr. Thomas C. Van Flandern, an astronomer at the observatory, says could be explained by a single undiscovered planet. He and colleague Dr. Robert Harrington calculate that the 10th planet should be 2 to 5 times more massive than Earth. And incidentally, I don't know why they said that, because it's got to be much, much larger than that, and I'll show you why later on in this article. And it should be 2 to 5 times more massive than Earth and have a highly elliptical orbit. That is correct, because we talked about that, like the tennis ball being batted back and forth between two suns on a celestial tennis court. If a tennis ball is batted back and forth, its trajectory is certainly going to have a highly stretched out elliptical orbit going back and forth from one tennis player to the next. Anyway, they say this Dr. Harrington and Dr. Van Flandern say it has a highly elliptical orbit that takes it some 5 billion miles beyond that of Pluto. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a key quote. This is very important for us to ponder. Takes it 5 billion miles beyond Pluto, hardly next door, but still within the gravitational influence of the sun. So what that means is that if it's within the gravitational influence of the sun at 5 billion miles away, which is where it was back then in 1983, a third of a century ago, it must still be within the gravitational influence of the sun right now, only much closer.
Right.
That is, if it has a highly elliptical orbit, you see, it's got those two facts together. If it has a highly elliptical orbit coming in, and it is within the gravitational influence of the sun, according to basic physics, which is indisputable, it must be continually, right now, at this time, being pulled in by our sun gravitationally. This is an undeniable fact of physics, and I, as a former high school physics teacher, can tell you that. I'm sorry, Michael.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that we've only got a few minutes left. This night has flown by. So if you could spend the next few minutes, obviously at the end, go ahead and plug whatever you'd like. But in the next few minutes, if you could kind of explain to us where it might be and when you expect to get the worst from it.
Well, the astronomers at the Atacama Large Meter Array in Chile recently, within the last couple weeks, said that it's out near the heliosphere of our solar system, which is way out there beyond Pluto. And I can imagine where it would be out there because it has come in, well, I won't go into details because we don't have a lot of time, but it has come in below the ecliptic, according to Dr. Harrington, the late and murdered Dr. Robert S. Harrington. I think we could say that safely because many observers have shown us that Dr. Harrington was about to reveal to the world that he had sighted this object, and it was indeed coming toward our solar system, and that's why they killed him. He died of cancer very quickly when he had promised to tell the world reveal his telescopic findings, which were being processed. Okay, so Dr. Harrington was murdered Anyway, he said it comes in from the south below our ecliptic plane, which means it's going to overshoot the sun and go out and make a huge U-turn through underneath the ecliptic and up and over the planets, which is way out there near the heliosphere. So I can imagine why it would make such a huge U-turn. It would slow down in that U-turn just like a car slows down in its U-turn. But then as the sun begins to pull it back again over the top of the ecliptic plane, toward the sun again, passing over Earth's orbit, passing over the outer planet's orbit, passing over, that's where it seems to be about ready to do now. It's about ready to pass over the top of the orbital paths of the outer planets, and then come in over the top of the orbital paths of the inner planets, Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury, and the Sun, etc. And as it does, it's going to become close enough to cause gravitational and magnetic molestations of planet Earth. Anyway, Dr. Morita was murdered. I got to tell you this is so key. Okay. Dr. Morita was a famed, eminent, world-class astronomer from Japan. Several years ago, when the Atacama, the ALMA observatory, which we're talking about now, which just released this report of sighting Planet X, that was being constructed. The diabolical ruling elite were so concerned about these independent astronomers finding Planet X. You know what they did? They actually had Dr. Morita, the chief astronomer of the ALMA observatory, under construction. They had him beaten to death to terrorize. You can see the article. Just look up Morita, Morita. Do a search.
I don't doubt
that name, along with ALMA, ALMA Observatory. Just type in those words, Morita, ALMA Observatory, and you'll find that he was beaten to death.
And John, we can go about another 5-10 minutes over if need be. I don't want to rush you. I want to know what we can. So, but I wanted to add to that and say that these a lot of these holistic healers, along with scientists and God knows who else, have been getting knocked off.
Exactly, that's a good point. Dr. Teresa Sievers, a wonderful, beautiful physician in Florida, was beaten to death recently, this year, 2015. And Dr. Jeffrey Bradstreet was shot to death, shot in the chest and thrown into the river by these diabolical ruling elite from Big Pharma, etc., because of natural findings that they were coming up with. I don't know the exact details of it, but it related to cancer cures. And that's what they do. They beat Dr. Sievers to death, this beautiful woman. When they do that, they do it to terrorize others. You see, if the person just dies of a natural causes, they could do that too. They can give them cancer. But they want to terrorize everyone else who might speak out. And that's what they did with Dr. Morita, the chief astronomer of the under construction at that time ALMA Observatory. And they figured, well, we're going to terrorize all these other astronomers from around the world, from various nations that were joining together at the ALMA Observatory. Astronomers from Korea, from Japan, from the U.S., from other countries too. Independent astronomers. The diabolical ruling elite hate that because they don't want the public to know. When the public knows that this planet is coming in to cause great devastation to Earth, then people lose their fear and obedience to the diabolical ruling elite, and they become independent and begin to go into survival mode, which is what we should all be doing right now. The elite don't want us to do that. They want to go underground and watch us die.
And on the 28th, you brought up survival. I'm actually doing a show on the 28th with a guest who's been on the show before, but we didn't talk about survival. He's coming on to discuss survival, Richard Lowell Jr. He'll be coming on to discuss surviving whatever might come in the next year, because it's picking up. And, that's all I'm going to say. I've told people World War III had already started, and, it would appear that I was right. I mean, look, there's more and more conflict happening, and, it's, who knows what could happen. Suitcase nukes, and I ain't not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying that, these are very real possibilities, and everybody A lot of times people think, well, everything's fake, it's all made up, and I'll tell you what, you're giving the cabal too much credit, because they will sacrifice you, they will blow you up or shoot you to make a point and to get their agenda ahead. And so you should never underestimate, while an event might be staged per se, they may be planning on it, they're still killing people. I mean, don't think that they don't.
Exactly. And the brave, thoughtful, insightful people will believe us and are believing us, and they will prepare. And we leave the fearful, the ones who have cognitive dissonance, who do not want to believe the truth because they're afraid. They fall by the wayside. We don't care about them. We care about the people who do care and who believe it and want to warn others. So that's fine. We don't need 100% acceptance. We just need the good people, like the Marine Corps. We need a few good men. Well, we're looking for all those good people with good hearts. And real quickly, if we have a minute, I just wanted to show you more evidence from the New York Times article of 1983, where these astronomers, Dr. Harrington, who was murdered by the diabolical ruling elite because he was about to announce his findings, his sightings in 1993, Dr. Harrington and others, they're saying, quote, more credence was given to the hypothesis that a brown dwarf star accounts for this mysterious pulling force on the outer planets. Okay, so there you go, right there. All the astronomers of the day of 1983 say that this is probably a brown dwarf star. Now, if you look at the definition of a brown dwarf star in any astronomy book, you can find it on the internet. The puniest brown dwarf star is about at least 1,000 Earth masses. Imagine that, 1,000 Earth masses, 1,000 Earths clumped together. And when it comes by, so now the scientists tell us it's probably a brown dwarf star. All the people who are reporting on it today, many of them are scientists, are saying it's a brown dwarf star. The astronomers at Chile, they tried to intimidate by beating to death the lead astronomer, but it hasn't worked yet. They report that it's probably a brown dwarf star. You could check out this latest report, and this latest report is really the powerful impetus for us to start preparing, because it's being cited, and it's going to be cited by other observatories. It's bee swarm. The bee swarm from this brown dwarf beehive is coming in right now. That's the first danger we have to face, is the bee swarm surrounding the beehive. Now, this bee swarm consists of comets, asteroids, and meteors. Earth is in danger, great danger of asteroids right now. I mean, they cannot even hide the danger anymore. You're hearing it all over the place. You're hearing it on all the science channels that we are threatened by asteroids. And they try to cover up with such, for the layman who doesn't understand. For those of us who understand, we could see their lies. I was looking at a H2 History Channel report on the asteroid threat. In fact, I video or DVD recorded it, and what they're saying in there is, gee, there's more asteroids in our solar system than we thought. Well, that's a lie. I mean, the fact is that they knew there were a certain density of asteroids for many, many decades. And now the number of asteroids has increased drastically. They're not telling you that. They're lying in a feeble way with a sloppy lie that that must be noticed by anyone who studies the subject. That it's not that they just never noticed the asteroids before. It's just that the density of asteroids has drastically increased in recent years, and that's because this beehive is coming into our solar system, being pulled in by our sun's great gravitational force field, and the bee swarm around it is becoming ever dense. And you watch, we're seeing more strikes, more meteor strikes. We had a massive meteor strike in the nation of Iran back in July. That was covered up by the media. I proved that it was covered up in my reports. I posted numerous reports to prove it. They said one person even related, wife of a Planet X researcher said, "Oh, that's a hoax. There was no meteor strike in Iran." And I proved that she was wrong by posting the actual videotape that I found on YouTube of Iranian journalists going into the field where the meteor struck, and they were pulling the asteroid out of the ground and holding it right up to the camera. And of course, it was reported in the Italian press, but you could not find it anywhere in the U.S. And just because this wife of this Planet X researcher, she couldn't find it, she declared that it doesn't exist just because she couldn't find evidence of the meteor strike. I proved it by showing her the video evidence, and I posted it in one of my articles, one of my reports. Well, the point is that meteors are striking Earth more frequently now, and we're in danger of being struck by an asteroid. When that happens, you have dust clouds, you have dislocation of society. Okay, the bottom line is prepare. Get your water. Now, I have so many empty water bottles that I have collected. My wife is frustrated because I have all these empty water plastic bottles, from ketchup, soda. I mean, I don't drink soda, but once in a while, they buy juice bottles. Any plastic bottle, I rinse it out, fill it up with water, stack it up in my basement. And that's what you got to do, because water is the first thing lack of water is the first thing that will cause death.
Well, yeah, I mean, quicker than not having food, that's
exactly.
for sure. So, but John, we are getting down low on time here, and I don't want to screw the schedule up too bad on Ira. We're kind of cutting into the next show right now, but I thank you so much for being here tonight, and of course we'll kick off another show in 2016. That's for sure. Probably somewhere near the end of January, maybe we could do this again, and maybe sooner. Depends. I mean, because if somebody cancels out, you and a few others are usually the first ones I contact to bring back in. So
I'm happy to have been with you and your audience, Michael.
Thank you. And anything you want to get out there before we finish up tonight?
No, that's all. I think we've cut into enough time already. I've said it all, and we'll talk more about survival. That's the main thing. And spiritual connection to God, who can protect us.
And where would you suggest people go for the best survival tips? I mean, you've been around, you look into this stuff. Where would you send people?
There's so many. I would say just about any of them. Just pick out a variety of survival tips from a variety of survival sources. Because we've got so many disasters, such as flooding and tornado protection, etc. Look at all the disasters that we are now prone to feeling, and you can then begin to plan for these disasters with a variety of preparations, mainly food and water. Water is the main thing. Just fill up, common sense, fill up water bottles, get essential oils for health, and get silver germicide to prevent disease along with your essential oils. But the water and the storable foods and seeds are so important.
Absolutely. Well, John, thank you again, and until next time, have a very Merry Christmas and a really, really good New Year. 2016 is upon us.
Thank you, Michael. My best wishes to you and your audience.
All right, and right back to you and yours, John. Thank you so much. All right, folks, so that's John Dinardo, and he's a regular guest here. He's been on Late Night in the Midlands often, and when I cover the subject of Planet X, there's just there's a few people I like, and John's one of them, and and a few of my other favorites, well, they've retired. One was killed. So a lot of, so these are the guys that are left, and they do such a great job at it. And you know what? Who am I to say what you want to call it or where it's coming from or when it'll be here? Because I have seen proof that it has been seeked out. I have seen the proof that that NASA has toyed around with it, called it different things, has put out press releases on it. I've seen all that stuff, but at the same time, what I haven't seen is I haven't seen Planet X yet with my own eyes. And until I do, I have to just keep going on day by day as I do. And that's like with anything. Now, I will say this. There seems to be a huge increase in UFO sightings, and there has been. It's been ongoing for probably the last decade. I mean, it's just more and more and more. Me, myself, and I could say this because I've seen more than probably most people will in a lifetime. I've seen more already in my life, and I'm just 44. So, but this last one, strange. It doesn't want to show up in the pictures, but with Robert Morningstar has been working on them and blowing them up, and you could see distortions. You got to understand pictures and the pixels and all that stuff, which I don't, not like he does. And but he's telling me that it does look like there is a triangle within the light spectrum there. And see, it just goes, I need a good camera. I really need a good camera. You know, if I've heard people out there get these things donated to them, and you know, I'm not looking for handouts, but boy, would I like to get my hands on one of those night vision cameras, and really go crazy outside at night. I see these things. They, you know, every now and then I have one of these sightings, and it's crazy. It's just, and you know, it's not enough for me. I want a damn picture of it so I could go back and just keep looking at it and studying it. Unfortunately, the one time we finally have a camera to take a picture, and it's not showing up in the regular picture without being blown up and all that stuff. And so we'll keep trying, I guess. But he's got more pictures he's going through. So if we get something good, I will definitely share it. Look for the late night forums later tonight or later this morning. I am going to get some pictures in there on Planet X and some different things that people have sent me, and I'll share what I got here. So, folks, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night. I've got Gary Legier. He is Gary the Mad Martian joining me tomorrow night, and I promise you we're going to have a nice, calm conversation here tomorrow night with Gary, and we're going to get some facts out, and should be a pretty good evening as we discuss Mars and a code that has to do with Mars and Richard Hoagland and all that stuff. So that's tomorrow night, folks. But for tonight, I thank you all for tuning in. I ask that you keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Thank you, Ira. Thank you, Jolene. And thank you, everybody who's tuned in tonight. And we'll be back with you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.